Hello everyone, welcome to PW OnlyIAS. Hope you're all doing great today. I'm back here with another episode of Current Affairs linking in with public administration. So, December month when I uploaded the video, I saw a lot of positive comments both in my Telegram channel as well as in the YouTube channel. Now I understand the importance of it and the purpose of this current affairs session you must understand. It's for number one, quick revision. Number two, it is always a tricky area to link current affair with a static topic. That is paper one. So that job is made easy here. So once you get the hang of it, you yourself will be able to do it. Number one. Number two, again you will see that lot of these current affairs, there are multiple angles or multiple areas where which you can use it as an example. So the purpose here is to make it easy for you to remember things, to interlink things and get a thorough grasp over paper one as well as paper two. So without any further delay, let me take you right into it. Starting with my Telegram channel, of course. This is the area where you can ask me questions, send your answers in the PDF format of the PYQs. Please understand, only send the PYQs, not anything else. Now let us look into the topics that we will be discussing. It's pretty organized this time, unlike January month. We will be covering articles with regard to lieutenant governor or governor, informal groups, state-specific news, politics administration dichotomy, metrics organization, digital governance, bounded rationality, data point, transparency, systems theory, re-centralization, formalism, red tapeism and judicial delay, checks and balances, PSUs, balancing right to protest and right to life, women-oriented, independent regulatory commissions, judiciary, 3E, integration or coordination, technology-related center-state or union territory conflict, relevance of Woodrow Wilson, competitive federalism, importance of private players, fostering theory-wide behavior, contracts, incrementalism, new public service, e-governance, CAG, parliament-related local bodies, diffracted administrative system. Yes, pretty extensive. Some topics will only have one or two news articles, but some like the judiciary has got more than 10 to 20 articles. Because these are important areas. Now, one thing like me tell you, which some of you already know, when you prepare public administration, the advantage is your GS2 and certain sections of GS3 both gets covered. So such advantages are there. Clear? So without any further delay, the first topic, lieutenant governor or governor. Now we already know that this lieutenant governor and governor clashes will always remain a favorite topic of UPSC and it will never go out of fashion as far as newspapers are also concerned. So let us see. Atishi and the LG spar over religious structures. Delhi Chief Minister Atishi and Lieutenant Governor Vinay Kumar Saxena got into a war of words on Tuesday after she alleged that several religious places in Delhi had been put on a list of structures to be demolished. LG's office denied her claim. This is one among the many instances. All right. Coming to real motive of Tamil Nadu governor questionable, says leader of the house. Governor R. N. Ravi's action of not completing his customary speech in the assembly has led to questions over the governor's real motive, veteran legislator and leader of the house, Durai Murugan, said on Monday. So the first thing is about a constant clash between the lieutenant governor and the Delhi chief minister. Coming to Tamil Nadu, it is the constant clash between governor and the elected government. So many issues have been happening. So bottom line here now is, how are we going to connect all this with theory now? Definitely, you can always highlight what this is clearly because of what? A lack of integration. So you have a separate body, governor and even chief minister. Both are pretty independent in their own spheres, with areas clearly mentioned where governor can act independently or where governor has to act only according to the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers. All these are already clearly given. But in spite of that, we can always see governors often taking sometimes an activism role or an activist role. In spite of clear Supreme Court rulings, sometimes this goes on and it is still going on. So, just because you created two separate bodies does not necessarily mean that there will be complete coordination with them. So, that coordination needs to be ensured by what? By clear law. Clear law has to be brought in place rather than just judicial precedents, where it should be made very clear the do's and don'ts. Because this doesn't end anywhere. Resolve V0 before next hearing, Supreme Court to Tamil Nadu Governor. The Supreme Court on Friday orally asked Attorney General of India R. Venkat Raman, appearing for Tamil Nadu Governor R. N. Ravi, to urge for a resolution of a continuing statement with the state government over the appointment of vice chancellors in major state universities. Now, earlier commissions also have recommended that governor in any other role, that is, governor has a one role, correct, head of the state. But other than that, while they are acting as governor, they shouldn't occupy any other office. Why? Because if it brings a tarnish to the reputation, or it affects the working or affects the position of the governor, it is better to stay away from it. Now, highlighting this particular recommendation, many states have again decided to keep the governor out of the state universities. Tamil Nadu has passed resolutions regarding it. West Bengal has done it. State of Kerala is doing it. So everywhere this is happening. That means the tussle between governor and the elected government has reached its peak today. To be very honest, governor versus elected government has reached its peak today, where literally now the elected government is trying their real best the elected government is trying their real best to basically what? To basically reduce the role of governor when it comes to state administration. Clear, people? This is one other area where constant issues are happening. Kerala governor's policy address suggests shifts in Raj Bhavan government political dynamics. Way forward, we will say right now how to reduce, because in the state of Tamil Nadu we saw constant tussle between the governor and the elected government. Many a times the chief minister has come out openly criticizing the governor. Why? It has gone to the extent where they are even passed a resolution. They met the president also to recall the governor. Was it all roses and sunshine in the state of Kerala? Absolutely not. When Mr. Arif Khan was the governor, always there used to be an issue between the chief minister and the governor, to the extent where in one public meeting, neither, when both of them arrived, that is the chief minister of Kerala on one side, governor of Kerala on the other side, both of them did not even exchange a formal greeting. They both acted as if the other person does not exist, almost like two school children who are angry with each other. Getting the point here? Now the new governor has brought some change. Why? New Kerala Governor Rajendra Vishwanath Arlekar's policy address marking the opening of the budget session of the Assembly on Friday appeared to signal an arguably different dynamic in the Raj Bhavan LDF government relationship. Mr. Arlekar expressed the state government's concern about experiencing liquidity stress due to declining share of union fiscal transfer, tapering of revenue deficit grants, and cessation of GST compensation without apparent reservations. The government's non-confrontational approach also helped. It kept the policy address largely devoid of politics. Almost a give and take. That means governor accepted that the state is facing dire financial stress because of the aforementioned reason. Less devolution, GST compensation cess is not coming, etc., etc. State also what they did, normally when the state government, especially if it is a non-NDA ally in that state, they will generally put the blame, everything on the center's politics. State also, what did they do? They kept whatever address, that is the speech what was meant to be delivered by the governor, or whatever addressing they also gave, they kept politics out of it. They just told whatever they need. Government also appeared to gloss over contentious questions that dominated the state's political narrative, including the center's alleged trespasses on fiscal federalism and infringements on the authority of provincial government. Mr. Arlekar followed the script, maintained an officially punctilious note, and struck an optimistic tone, especially regarding the state's future finances. The governor noted that the government highlighted the fiscal problems plaguing Kerala when the 16th Finance Commission visited. State government requested that the centre take ameliorative measures. We hope for the best. The ruling coalition did not seem to lose sight of the fact that former Governor Arif Muhammad Khan had kept the government on tenterhooks by objecting to some portions of draft policy addresses, including debatable reflections about federalism, the constitutional bounds of the gubernatorial office, and center-state relations. That is, governor had made it very clear, earlier governor, that some things, some points which was there in the speech given by the government, in that many points which were critical of the central government, Arif Khan openly used to say, what is this? How can you make this statement, etc. So both of them decided to go what? Okay, state government decided, let us not delve into too much of politics. Let us talk about our problem and whatever we did nice. Governor also decided, okay, I will also do what is asked of me. I am not going to do anything beyond what is mandated. Both of them kept politics out of it and look at it. So the idea is very simple. Not just the state governor, even the state government also should keep politics at bay and do everything at least on what? An objective basis. So when the decisions are taken logically and rationally and on an objective basis, it is easy to bring coordination between governor and the government. When politics is kept out, you bring politics into it, you are creating a great platform for conflict. Clear, people? Moving on. Next topic is informal groups. The importance of informal groups in a democratic society, especially the informal groups have become even more important because of new public service, because of metrics organization, because of participative management. Clear, people? So let us see them one by one now. Gujarat IMA opposes Mixopathy plan, says it poses severe risks. IMA said Mixopathy poses severe risk to the health of the citizens and requested lawmakers to consider the long-term implications of such decisions on the health of the people. Mixopathy denotes mixing of different medical systems like allopathy or modern medicine with homeopathy and Ayurveda for treatment of patients. So IMA is telling mixopathy will pose severe risks. Don't recommend it. But why is mixopathy being entertained? Because this again we have discussed in the class also. One of the biggest issues that today government is facing is getting people or getting the doctors in rural area. Not just doctors, anybody you talk about. So they are thinking of multiple ways by which we can improve the health parameters. And one such way is what? Mixopathy. Mixing the two, where homeopathy, homeopathy, Ayurvedic doctors also can recommend allopathic medicines, etc. Clear? This comes days after the State Health Department called for a meeting of senior government officials and representatives of the Gujarat Medical Council, Gujarat Board of Ayurveda and Unani System of Medicine, and Gujarat Council of Homeopathy System of Medicine to discuss the issue of allowing doctors trained in Ayurveda to practice allopathy. System, theory. You can easily say this as what? Why now they are discussing all this? Law of situation, as suggested by Mary Parker Foley. Situation is like that. When you don't have enough allopathic doctors to give treatment to the people, and we are 140 plus crore people, we need to improve the health parameters in the rural area. Government will think of something outside the box. Government Staff Association urges Siddaramaiah to implement OPS. Newly elected office bearers of the Karnataka State Government's Employees Association urged Chief Minister Siddaramaiah on Tuesday to take steps for implementation of the old pension scheme for government employees. Old pension scheme, first of all, we know one detail of it, which is what? Old pension scheme, first of all, is a huge burden on state. And with an increasing elderly population in southern India, especially right now in the states of Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Andhra, Telangana, 20, 30 years down the line, you will find too much of old age population here. Kerala already has a very low fertility rate. It is at around 1.45 or something right now, state of Kerala. Tamil Nadu also birth rate is declining. Followed by Andhra, Telangana, Karnataka. Not necessarily in that order, but in these 5 states, old age population is going down, increasing. Sorry, not going down. Means what? If I am bringing back the old pension system, it is when I have too much of people retiring from the government service, I will obviously have to give, the pension burden will be huge. At the same time, because I don't have sufficient youth in my state, my revenue sources will also dry up. Getting the point here? So both the ways, it is not possible. Informal association is demanding, they want OPS. Why government cannot do it? Because it is a huge burden, and the burden will only increase as the old age population increases in the state. Clear, people? But once again, the point is what? Government Staff Association, informal group. Report FCRA violations by NGOs, government asks CAs. The Union Home Ministry on Wednesday notified that chartered accountants filing audit returns on behalf of NGOs need to specify if the organization violated provisions of the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act. Chartered accountants per se, you cannot call them as an informal group. Because we are not talking about any group here. They are asking individuals to come and report. But the fact of the matter, you can see, generally it is the ministry's duty. Whether any violation has taken place or not, go and find it out. Entrusting officers for it. Now the other way. They are telling chartered accountants, you are the ones filing it for the NGO. Did you find anything wrong? Tell it to us. You don't report it to us, you will face the music tomorrow. The Act requires a CA to certify if an association, NGO, or NGO has utilized foreign contribution received for the purposes it was registered for, and the annual statements are to be uploaded on the FCRA website. Getting the point here? So this is what you call engaging truly. True engagement this is. So chartered accountants have a moral responsibility and a legal responsibility now to report any wrongdoing. Farmers' outfits call on Prime Minister to hold discussions. Samyukt Kisan Morcha asks Modi to respect democracy and hold talks with all farmers' organizations and save the life of Jagjit Singh Dalewal, who has been on a fast since November 26. Again, importance of informal groups. What are they demanding? The Prime Minister himself should come and engage in talks with all the farmers' groups so as to put an end to the fast by Jagjit Singh Dalewal. Now, clearly shows what? If informal groups really gather strength, it can literally put the government also on the toes. And today it could be a farmers group. Tomorrow it could be any other group. So, where to draw the line? How much of engagement should be done? Because we know if you keep doing this, if you keep entertaining talks with every informal group in the country, exactly what Woodrow Wilson has told, it will create a scenario of what? Multitudinous monarch. It literally steals the thunder from the government. That is, government will have no choice but to keep listening to what these informal groups have to say and accordingly start framing policies. To what extent it is even practical. Getting the point here. No sanction given for death sentence. Houthis handling nurses case. Yemen embassy. So, I told you about informal groups in India. Is it just that only in India because we are a democracy, we have to listen to these informal groups? Look at Yemen. Houthis are otherwise known as the proxy. They are a proxy terrorist group affiliated to Iran to wage war with Israel. Yemeni embassy made it very clear that Nimisha Priya's case is not being handled by their government, not by the Yemeni government. But in a new development, the embassy of Yemen in India has announced that the chairman of the Presidential Leadership Council, Rashid Al-Alimi, has not ratified the death sentence of Indian nurse Nimisha Priya and declared that the Houthi militia of the country handled the entire case. That means India will have to deal with whom? Houthis then. Getting the point here. That means not just with the informal groups in the country, even the informal groups that are present around the world, even some which are have the tag of a terrorist gang, even with them also you may have to integrate and coordinate. That is how the world has evolved today. Announced 8-way commission soon, trade unions tell finance minister. The central trade unions in the opposition camp and the Sangh Parivar-backed Bharatiya Mazdoor Sangh have demanded the center constitute the 8-pay commission immediately. So you can clearly see informal groups are literally spread everywhere today. So for farming, medical related, salary related, even international issues, everywhere you have to deal with them. It is just a matter of degree. Here major protests etc. is not happening, but we cannot say the same over here. Huge protest is happening. Nor with the earlier examples also of the staff association in Karnataka is forcing the chief minister to bring back the old pension scheme. So state level, national level, international level, we can see this. Clear people? Tamil Nadu's drone Didis spray acres of farmlands in a jiffy. The state's first batch of women trained under the central scheme has been deployed to help farmers spray fertilizers, pesticides, and water fields in minutes. One self-help group member complete training. They are given drone worth 7 lakh free of cost. Weight of the drone poses challenges to operators. Nandini Sukumar, 27, a postgraduate in mathematics, had always had a fascination for drones. Having only seen the gadget whirring, she now holds the controls as a drone pilot trained to assist Kallakurichi farmers. Covered entire sugarcane field in just 7 minutes before returning to the ground. She is among the first batch of Tamil Nadu's self-help group members selected under the CENTOS Namo Drone Didi scheme aimed at empowering rural women by training them to be drone pilots and making them integral stakeholders of the local farming supply chain. Namo Drone Didi scheme. Women will be trained and they are given drone worth 7 lakh free of cost. Empowering women, bringing technology to farming, reducing the labor cost, reducing the time, saving on water, pesticides and fertilizers, reducing the subsidy burden of the government, reducing pollution. You can keep adding. So informal groups can also be used to strengthen grassroots level democracy as well as to ensure financial empowerment and overall development of rural area. Clear, people? So it takes around 7 minutes to cover an acre of farmland. Charges rupees 400 per acre. And generally, people have only small land areas also between 1 and 4 acre. 1 acre, 400 rupees. 4 acres, just 1600 rupees. 1 acre gets covered in just 7 minutes. 7 minutes, just 1 acre. That means in half an hour, 4 acres is done. Total cost 1600. 4 acres, if you actually put laborers, how many laborers will you need and how many days work? Getting the point here. This is the only way you can make farming what? A productive occupation by reducing the cost. Clear, people? Shun divisive tactics like caste and focus on staff welfare. Railways tell trade unions. The Indian Railways, one of the largest employees of the government of India, with over 12 lakh employees, has directed the newly elected trade unions to keep away divisive tactics such as caste and creed and focus on the overall welfare of the staff. So far, what we have seen is informal groups doing things, suggesting things, doing things. This is the other way around. Railways are communicating with these informal groups and telling them, think about welfare. Don't keep caste, don't keep creed, don't divide yourself. Clear? According recognition to two trade unions, the All India Railwaymen's Federation and the National Federation of Indian Railwaymen, for a period of 5 years, after the nationwide secret ballot elections held in the first week of December, the railways laid down certain conditions for them to follow. The federations were told to refrain from encouraging divisive tactics based on any distinction of caste, creed, category, region, or railway zones. The overall interest of all categories of non-gazetted employees, Group C and erstwhile Group D of railways, should be kept uppermost. That is the point here. Welfare, keep it in mind, especially of Group C, Group D employees. Clear, people? Next topic, state specific. Rajasthan to formulate master plan for mineral exploration. The 5-year master plan will speed up work to allocate minerals and assess the deposit's quality. A 5-year master plan for mineral exploration will be formulated shortly in Rajasthan to speed up the work to find out the rich mineral wealth and assess the deposit's quality and availability of minerals. Initiative is also expected to facilitate fast auctioning of major mineral blocks. This is to boost the economy. Mr. Ravikant addressed a meeting of the Executive Committee of Rajasthan State Mineral Exploration Trust at Khanij Bhavan here. He said the RSMET would prepare the master plan with the emphasis of generating employment opportunities and enhancing revenue earnings in the sector. State specific. You're keeping a 5-year master plan. For 5 years, this is the target. That means you have a clearly defined goal. Correct? You have a clear defined target, 5-year, what you need to do, etc. So this is basically what then? 3E. Efficiency, economy, effectiveness. Because you're trying to improve the economy. by increasing the revenue and by increasing the employment opportunities. Getting the point here? For that, you're making a complete master plan at the state level as part of your policy. Clear, people? Moving on. Politics administration dichotomy. Politics administration dichotomy would be probably one of the oldest discussions because it started off with Woodrow Wilson's essay in 1887. Why it is required? First example, if you see, transfer of excise officer sets of row in Alappuzha. That is, this is again in the state of Kerala. The Kerala government's decision to transfer a senior excise official from Alappuzha to Malappuram has ignited a controversy. P.K. Jayaraj, who took charge as excise deputy commissioner just 3 months ago, was transferred 5 months before his retirement. So why? Sources said he had implemented stringent measures against illicit spirit. The department in Alappuzha is under the spotlight after the arrest of the son of U. Prathipa, MLA, in a ganja case. So especially after the MLA's son was arrested, where the MLA also came out openly telling that it is a fake case, they are trying to malign her reputation, etc. But once the media, everybody got to know about the reality of it, they found out that the ganja case has merit. And he was a no-nonsensical officer. The government decided to punish him how? By transferring him literally from the southern part of Kerala to the northern part. Now, Kerala is a very small state, but still a transfer just 3 months after you got a posting and 5 months before retirement, generally it is not done. Generally, whatever posting is given just before retirement, they will allow that officer to retire then and there. Getting the point here? This clearly shows what of officials today, even in a state like Kerala, which is known or which is ranked number 1 in public administration, number 1 when it comes to governance, even in such states, political interference in administrative matters is at its worst. Clearly shows what we need. We definitely require politics administration dichotomy is therefore needed in such matters. Is Tamil Nadu police a political or government agency? Asks Madras High Court judge. Is the Tamil Nadu police a government agency or a political agency for denying permission just a day before a proposed rally by Pudiya Tamilagam, despite the application having been made weeks in advance? The judge posed the question while hearing a writ petition filed by OK. Justice Velmurugan said even if there was any justification in the rejection order, it could have been passed much before the proposed date, besides giving an opportunity to the organizers to seek legal remedy. Court is asking, are you a political agency or are you a government agency? Because if you file a petition with me that you need to conduct a rally, I should give a response or reply to it within a reasonable time period, much before the date. Not that I wait till the last minute and then deny you the permission. I should give the reasons. I should give you also an opportunity to argue your case or to seek legal remedy. When none of this I do, obviously I end up being what? Just a political tool in the hands of the elected government. And the High Court has made this observation. Once again, warranting the case for what? Politics administration, dichotomy, metric organization. Karnataka government seeks center's assistance to repair oxygen plants. As many as 75 of the 243 pressure swing adsorption oxygen plants installed under corporate social responsibility and the Prime Minister Care Funds with assistance from the Railway Board and Ministry of Coal during COVID-19. How many agencies here? Corporate social responsibility, that means corporates. Prime Minister Care Fund, then the Railway Board, then the Ministry of Coal. All of these coming together, where almost everybody shared the equal powers or responsibilities with regard to what? Oxygen plants. This was set up during the time of COVID-19. Classic case of matrix organization. Then, center states roped in 54,800 to monitor online content. The Union Ministry of Home Affairs and various state governments. 1 minute. Have roped in around 54,800 persons as volunteers against cybercrime to flag unlawful content on the internet. Once again, that is also a matrix organization. Why? You're distributing powers now. Again, you can highlight this also as what? You may also highlight this as informal groups. Clear? The Indian Cybercrime Coordination Center under the ministry launched the program in 2020, aiming to bring together citizens with passion to serve the nation on a single platform and contribute in fight against cybercrime in the country. According to I4C, the Cyber Volunteer Framework enables citizens to enroll as cyber volunteers for reporting unlawful content, dissemination of cyber hygiene, and as cyber expert to aid law enforcement. The report stated that 54,833 cyber volunteers have been enrolled, including 22,942 for reporting unlawful content. Getting the point, people? That is where governance is headed to these days. Center to implement suggestions by panel on exam reforms. The center on Thursday told the Supreme Court that it would be implementing all the corrective measures suggested by its 7-member expert panel on exam reforms after reviewing the national testing agencies functioning in holding NEET UG last year. Clear? So, this is again an example of our matrix organization. You are consulting panels, you are consulting with multiple people to come out with a solution. Just that one example is enough. Moving on. 1.25 lakh take e-oath against drug use in Rajasthan's Sri Ganganagar district. About 1.25 lakh people took an e-oath against the consumption of narcotic substances during the campaign and are also motivating others. Nasha Mukt Sri Ganganagar campaign. Matrix organization again. You are using NGOs, volunteers to get your mission objectives satisfied. As you can clearly see, these are not part of routine. If you generally look at the matrix organizations example, whatever we have dealt with here, they are not routine. Some of them you may say, okay, it is part of this also like routine, but actually if you see, there is a dynamic element to it. For new problems, you're coming up with new solutions. And the solution is to engage with the non-traditional players, people who are not formally part of the system. Clear? Moving on. MGNREGS participation among Andhra Pradesh Chenchu tribe remains dismally low, shows study by NGO. Which NGO? A study by LibTech India, an NGO. They have found that from Chenchu tribe, the participation in MG Narega scheme, it's very, very less. Clear? Dismally low. So, once again, matrix organization, informal group, participative management, all of this. Your public service, that also you can throw it in here. Because only through these agencies, we will get to know what is the ground level reality, which will have a huge impact again on the policies framed. The Chenchu Special Project under the MGNREGS provided 180 days of work per individual per year instead of the standard 100 days per household. The initiative implemented through the Integrated Tribal Development Agency ensured timely payments, culturally sensitive work environments, and greater community participation. However, the project was scrapped in 2021 when the management of MGNREG shifted to a centralized system. This transition marked the beginning of numerous challenges for the Chenchu households. Analysis of data from April to September 2024 showed that MGNREG's participation among Chenchu households remains dismally low. Incomes have plummeted, with many households earning an average of just 12,000 annually through MGNREGs compared with the potential 48,000 that could have been earned under the scheme. Many Chenchu households did not possess physical copy of their job cards, which made accessing MGNREG's benefits nearly impossible. Many were unaware of their job card status or had been unable to retrieve them owing to bureaucratic hurdles. This is the reason. So, MGNREG is to streamline the whole process, to understand who are the genuine beneficiaries, to prevent ghost beneficiaries and bogus beneficiaries and fake beneficiaries. They have electronized the system completely. That is, you should be present in that area where work is happening. So, how do they know whether you are present or not? Your mobile or your job card. You don't have mobile, you don't have job card, no way you're going to get any payment. No way you're going to get any work. So what they are basically trying to highlight through this article is, because the whole system has become very centralized now, many people have ended up missing out from the list of beneficiaries, which has affected them obviously. So this article is trying to put a blame. But can we blame for actually creating a database? That was a centralized database where we literally know who are the beneficiaries, who are the genuine ones and who are the fake ones. In the last current affair class also, I told you about one beneficiary's name in Chhattisgarh was Sunny Leon. Her husband's name was Johnny Sins. Now, in such things, when it happens, what do we understand? People are out there who are making a mockery out of the system. So to ensure that the mockery doesn't happen, we need to keep a foolproof system. No doubt about it, some genuine beneficiaries will end up missing out. But that is where the bureaucracy should step in and ensure that the genuine beneficiaries are not missing out of the benefits. Clear, people? One-man initiative lights up Kolkata's heritage buildings, evokes past through crowdfunding. 62 structures have been illuminated in 14 months. That's what Mudar Patheria has to show in the annual report of the Kolkata Restorers. That is, Kolkata Restorers is an initiative where through crowdfunding, people are contributing money in order to restore the heritage structures in Kolkata. So what restoring are they doing? Number one, painting. Number two, lighting it up, so that in the night it will look beautiful. Illuminated Raj Bhavan in Kolkata. So they have painted it also and lit it up also nicely so that it looks beautiful, so that the heritage of the city is protected. Metrics organization, informal group, non-governmental support, how you can use crowdfunding for effectively maintaining iconic structures. Clear, people? Moving on. Digital governance. Power outage at Delhi data center disrupts IRCTC government websites. This is just an example to tell you we can go into any amount of digital governance that we want. But something as simple as 24/7 electricity, if you are not able to ensure, then what is the issue? While the outage was resolved, the websites continued to be down until 7:30 p.m. A technical issue in the next generation e-ticket system from 10:01 to 10:40 am, 10:51 am to 11:23 am. Officials were not immediately available to comment on the rail booking sites outage on Tuesday. So what has happened? A power outage took place at the National Informatics Center's data center in Shastri Park in Northeast Delhi. That means what happened in the morning, even though the issue got resolved, websites were down till 7:30 p.m. Getting the point here. So whatever digital governance we talk about, until and unless we don't resolve simple things like this, digital governance will face what? Systemic issues as simple as a power outage. Kumbh Mela, QR code jackets to help access ticketing app. In the run-up to the Kumbh Mela 2025, Railways has introduced jackets with QR scanners for volunteers in a bid to digitize ticket bookings for passengers. That is the next level. So on the jackets that they will be wearing, there will be a QR code. Scan it, you will be able to book your ticket very easily. On one side, we are failing to ensure power supply. On the next side, we have taken literally digital governance to the next level possible. Scan anywhere, book your ticket. EPFO 3.0 rollout by June to be more user-friendly, says Minister. Union Labour Minister Mansukh Mandaviya said here on Thursday that EPFO will launch its new software system EPFO 3.0 by June this year. He told press persons that the system will be equivalent to the banking systems in the country and the website will be more user-friendly. Now, this has been a persistent demand since a very long time. That EPFO website, if anybody who has visited it will be knowing it, it is one headache. It is not easy to retrieve anything. It is not even easy to use. But these days we can see government has made a lot of changes in EPFO. That is, you can manage it and maintain it just like your bank account. You can withdraw money also very easily. Again, what can we understand from all of this? And with the budget that was announced very recently, it is all a game for stimulating consumption expenditure in the economy. That means they want people to buy. People will buy only when they have money. When they don't have disposable income, people won't be interested in buying. So measures are being taken with updation as well as to make it user friendly. That is the other aspect of digital governance. Digital governance is not a silver bullet. It is not something that once, okay, I have given internet connectivity, everything is done. No, you have to update it. You have to make it more user friendly. You have to understand how other systems, equivalent systems are working in the market and update it accordingly. Try to soon bring in tighter regulations to control spam. You know it, I know it. There is nothing more ridiculous and irritating as a spam call, especially when we are in the middle of something or especially when we are expecting a very urgent call. One thing for sure that calls us regularly, even whether our wife calls us or our parents calls us or not, spam calls are guaranteed. So what TRAI is going to do? The Telecom Regulatory Authority of India will start this month a pilot to onboard paper-based and past permissions given by customers for receiving commercial communication onto its digital distributed ledger technology platform. This process in the long run would include scrubbing and verifying their current validity and offering opt-outs to those keen on it. He added that tighter regulations on curbing spam as well as new consultation, examining and authorization framework for telemarketers can also be expected in the coming weeks. High time they did something. Distributed ledger technology, when we talk about, what does it mean? Means every entity that is present there, they are all cross-verified and checked. So if there is an entity using VPN and making a call to make the so-called digital arrest or even for honey trapping, that can be caught and that can be easily flagged. Another irritating aspect, if you ask me, is the message that comes when you're trying to call somebody about the public. This is in public interest. Please don't send your phone number to random people. Please don't share OTP. Please don't believe in digital arrest. Please don't get into any scam. You have that notification coming. Again, somebody speaking in urgency. Now, rather than giving warning, etc., it is high time that TRAI actually took some concrete steps to put an end to such type of scammers. Clear, people? Taking it further forward. Bounded rationality. US farmers fret over Trump's deportation plans. Now, Trump has basically decided to deport the illegal immigrants. Now, every country should basically do this. That is what I would say. Not just USA, any country who wants to protect their democracy, who wants to protect their demography should do this. No doubt about it. But there is a catch here. Generally, if you look at these illegal immigrants, apart from the fact that they tend to have, some of them does have criminal antecedents. That means they have what criminal cases against them in their home countries. Majority of them actually come illegally. Why? They can't afford a visa. They can't go through all the legal procedures. They don't have the money. So such people, when they come, they are generally happy to work for a square meal. Hunger, that's the main reason. So many of the US farmers were benefiting from the illegal immigrants because pay them less. They are happy. US farmers are also happy because they are getting cheap labor. Otherwise, in USA, farming costs are very, very high. Now, when the country tries to take action against illegal immigrants, there is a drawback to it. And the drawback is what? You're losing out cheap farm labor. So somewhere a line has to be drawn. We cannot take a completely objective, rational decision. Nor can we go completely emotional and say, okay, let us legalize all the immigrants because some of them does have criminal background. So somewhere you will have to take a decision which is bounded rationally. Clear? Duty cut on smartphone parts to hit local firms result in job losses. GTRI. Any reduction in the customs duty on smartphone parts in the forthcoming budget will harm India's developing component ecosystem, discourage investment, raise imports, and make local firms uncompetitive, potentially resulting in job loss. Think tank GTRI set on Tuesday. That means, have you ever wondered why smartphone import, if I'm importing a smartphone, that is much, much cheaper than parts of smartphone. If I have to bring a display or a chip from Taiwan or Netherlands or from China, wherever it is, that display screen will be more costlier than an actual smartphone. Idea is simple. It is basically to encourage what? It is basically to encourage domestic manufacture of components. But if you actually see, with this policy, have we been able to improve domestic manufacture? No. So what the government has decided to do is literally bring down the import duty on the parts. But GTRI, a think tank, is basically telling if you do that, then the domestic market will be affected. Getting the point here. So once again, you have to balance both. You cannot actually sacrifice the domestic manufacturers. At the same time, genuinely Indian mobile companies which wants to improve their business, they are in need of parts which are exorbitantly having a high price in India. They want to import cheaper parts from outside. Their business also should not be affected. Again, you will have to take some bounded rational decision. Data point. Now, data point, if you actually ask me, it is not directly linked to public administration. But the data here is important for us to understand a few things with regard to certain sectors. So let us see that. Upper primary, secondary schools. Now, if you these are basically upper primary, secondary schools. It basically shows those states where educational outcome is good and educational outcome is poor. Now, generally, if you notice the topmost states, if you see when it comes to upper primary education, you have Kerala, Himachal Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Punjab, and Uttarakhand. Goa, Maharashtra also not a problem. Uttarakhand again, some values are too small again. Say for example, this is 92.2. This is just 93. Whereas till Andhra, if you see, it's more or less what? Within the 100 range. Clear? Odisha onwards, we see that it's rather mixed. Coming to secondary education, Kerala 95.7 for boys, 97.5 for girls. But after Himachal Pradesh, when you look at the numbers, we can see it is hitting the 80 range from Tamil Nadu onwards. That means secondary educational outcome, when you talk about, it is very poor overall in the country. And as we go down deeper and deeper, we can see the red color becoming even more intense. Say, for example, in Bihar, it is at 38.8 and 40.3 respectively for the boys and girls. So when people say why more money is being given to the states, poor states like Bihar, why is it that the southern states are being punished? Let us take the southern states outcome here just for the sake of argument. Kerala, secondary education outcome 95 and 97. Tamil Nadu, 89.2, 95.6. Telangana, 86.6, 90.5. Andhra, 84.2, 88.6. Karnataka, 70.7, 76.5. Worst in outcome among the southern states, if you see, it is the state of Karnataka. But when you compare it with national level, etc., you can see Bihar is at an abysmally low level. So shouldn't we be providing more funds to Bihar to improve its educational outcome? As per the tenets of economic justice as enshrined in the preamble. And this is again pure empirical data, correct? As per data, we are doing this. This is quantifiable, this is verifiable data. Empirical public administration. Pure logic, not emotion. Getting the point here. Moving on. Delhi schools fare much better in digitalization than national average, show Ministry of Education data. Government versus private schools in Delhi. Mobile phones for teaching, just 30.2 in government school. It is 50.6 for private schools. Integrated devices, 45.9. Smart classrooms, 79.5. Comparison of Delhi average and India average, if you see, Delhi is doing good when it comes to desktops, smart classrooms, projectors, mobile phones, and integrated devices. Doing a pretty good job. Just data, just data. This is again a classic example of what? Comparative public administration. Clear, people? Diminishing states' own revenues. The data for the charts were taken from the RBI State Finances Report, which also includes the Hindu's calculation. For over a decade now, states' own tax revenues as a share of their total revenue has remained considerably below the 50% mark. States' own tax revenue has remained below the 50% mark for more than 10 years. The share of non-tax revenue in states' total revenue is likely to go below the 24% mark in financial 25 for the first time in the past 25 years. Below 24% for the first time in the last 25 years. Why? Basically no economic activity is happening. Clear? The share of states' SGST and own tax revenue without SGST in their total revenue. Other tax revenue minus SGST and tax revenue with SGST. Just the data. So 33.5 in 2017-18, just about 28 in 2024-25. Clear? And with SGST means around 21.9. All right. So the point here is again, we are understanding what is the state of the state's tax revenue and non-tax revenue with respect to GST and without GST also. This gives us an understanding of the fiscal health of the state. This gives us an understanding of what needs to be done with regard to public administration policies so as to improve the fiscal health of the state. Grants from center has increased. It is 64.6 today percentage. Earnings from services have went down. It is 31.8. Interest receipts is just 3 today. Dividends and profits is very, very less. Close to, that is less than 1%. This is the breakup of the state's non-tax revenue. Larger part comes from what? Grants from center. Clear? The table shows the shares of government and private schools that provide various infrastructural amenities. Functional electricity, government 90, private 92. Functional toilet, it is 96 and 96. Functional boys toilet, government 90, private 96. Functional girls toilet, private again 95. Availability of ramps, it is 85 and 59. Availability of computer, it is 51 and 76. Rainwater harvesting, it is 26 and 34. Internet, it is 46 and 74. Medical checkup, it is 81 and 59. Hand wash is 95 and 96. Library is 93 and 82. In this list, if you see, private schools are better than government. The table shows the share of rural and urban schools equipped with various infrastructure facilities in 14 and 24. Let us look at 24 here. Functional electricity 88 and 96. Urban. Availability of computer 5377. Toilet facility 95 and 97. Boys toilet 89 and 91. Girls toilet 93 and 94. Internet 50 and 73. Medical checkup 76 and 71. Playground 81 and 87. Rainwater harvesting 27 and 36. Library 89 and 89. Availability of RAM 78, 71. Urban areas again have better facilities. No surprises. Clearly shows us what? Explains why urban migration is more. Explains the fact that rural administration continues to be a neglected lot. Still much needs to be done. Clear? Again, it is a comparison at state levels again. As you can clearly see, when the red mark starts climbing up, it clearly tells us what? How things are working well or not working well. Clear? So, in that again, if you look at the state of Kerala, 98, 100, 97, 100, 91, 100, 97, 100, 92, 100, 91, 99, 77, 22, 51. You'll find only 3 values which are largely below the 90 mark, and that is availability of RAMs for government, which was in 2014, now it has improved. Private availability of RAMs from 22 it has become 51. But when you compare it with, let us say, another state like Bihar, so let us only take the 24 mark, 94, 96, 77, 87, 12, 68, 55, 35. Once again, no surprises why Bihar as a state requires more funding. Basic level facilities are also missing out in this area, be it government, be it private. Clear, people? Odisha tops Niti Fiscal Health Index, Chhattisgarh next best. Fiscal health, which states are really doing good and which states are really doing bad. Punjab, Andhra Pradesh, West Bengal and Kerala were the worst performing states as per the Niti Aayog report, while Maharashtra, UP, Telangana, MP, Karnataka were in the front runners category. So let us see who are the best performers. Tamil Nadu, Rajasthan, Bihar, Haryana. Aspirational, that is worst performer, Kerala, West Bengal, Andhra Pradesh, Punjab. Getting the picture here. Odisha tops Niti Fiscal Health Index. So some of the poorest states are really doing when it comes to managing their fiscal deficit. Their revenues basically, revenue and debt. Which are the ones performing really bad? These four states. Getting the picture here. Comparative public administration, fiscal discipline, importance of it, which has again 2 chapters are there on economics in public administration. You can link it with that. Clear, people? Coming to our next topic, which is transparency. Ladki Bahin scheme, government to act against bogus beneficiaries. I told you there were a lot of complaints with regard to the beneficiaries of various schemes ever since we brought this whole online thing, etc. Now, when on one side, when people say, you see people are getting left out, etc., we admit it, definitely. People will get left out as the system becomes tighter. But is it worth it? Absolutely yes. Because even if one beneficiary if there is a fake beneficiary, what does it mean? Somebody who is supposed to get the benefit is not getting it, and somebody who should not be getting it is taking the advantage of it. Lokpal ordered probe in 24 cases in 5 years, gave prosecution sanction in 6. 12 years since the Lokpal Act was passed and 5 years after the Lokpal, the country's first anti-corruption body started to function. It has ordered investigation in just 24 cases and granted prosecution sanction in 6 cases. Data show. The Lokpal has rejected a large number of complaints, nearly 90% over the past 5 years, as they were not in the correct format. At least 2,320 defect-free complaints were registered with the Lokpal in 5 years, with 220 complaints lodged from April 1 to December 2024. Of the total complaints, 3% were against the Prime Minister, members of Parliament or Union Minister. 21% complaints were against Group A, B, C or D officials of the Union Government. 35% complaints against chairperson or members in central government bodies. 41% were against those in the others category, which includes state government officials. Now, this is the interesting thing. Lokpal Act was passed in 2013. The country's first Lokpal Justice Pinaki Chandra Ghosh was appointed on March 19, 2019, along with 8 other members. To improve the efficiency of the anti-corruption body, the authorities are looking at restructuring the workforce by recruiting permanent staff to replace the temporary employees brought in during the transitional period. The Lokpal awaits decision on proposals sent to the center on several occasions for filling up the post of the Director of Inquiry and the Director of Prosecution. In the meanwhile, preliminary inquiries and investigations are being entrusted with the Central Vigilance Commission and the Central Bureau of Investigation as mandated. The cases referred by the Lokpal are being inquired into with the aid of Central Vigilance Officers of the ministries or organizations concerned. Clearly, this shows what? a lack of interest from the side of the government when it comes to Lokpal. Appointing the right officials at the right time is not happening. Even though the act was passed in 2013, it's only after 6 years that the first Lokpal was appointed. Plus, on top of it, Lokpal suffers from what? It suffers from a lack of a permanent staff. So, if these things are there, then what happens? Definitely, transparency gets affected. Clear? Systems theory. After protests, MHA grants foreign fund registration to NGO. Sambhavana Trust and NGO provides free treatment to the victims of the 1984 Bhopal gas leak. The Union Home Ministry on Friday granted foreign fund registration to the Sambhavana Trust and NGO that provides free treatment to the victims of the 1984 Bhopal gas leak. This comes 5 years after the ministry cancelled the NGO's registration on the grounds that it had not uploaded its annual reports on MHA's portal. That means protest was huge. An NGO is giving free treatment to the victims of 1984 Bhopal gas tragedy. And when the government cancelled its foreign contribution regulation, FCRA, according to FCRA, cancelled its foreign contribution, etc., automatically what happened? Protests increased. Government had no choice but to give it back. Systems theory. You got the feedback from the environment. You made the necessary changes in your input. Border fencing on in West Bengal despite BGB objections. BGB is Border Guard Bangladesh. So India, basically what we are doing is we are strengthening the borders today. We are strengthening the borders for what purpose? To ensure that illegal immigration is stopped. Even though Border Guard Bangladesh force are not happy about it, we are still going ahead with it. Once again, feedback from the system, we are making changes in the input. Need to tackle the issue of social media pollution, says CEC. That is the Chief Election Commissioner. We know very clearly today one of the biggest hassles that is there affecting the Chief Election Commission's functioning these days is the unregulated social media. The posts that is put up. Now, generally, when the election is declared or when the dates of the election is declared, the model code of conduct kicks in. And 48 hours before the election, all sorts of campaigning should stop. But in social media through proxy accounts, that is, even though I am not part of any political party, I can still put posts which are politically sensitive, either supporting a party or opposing a party or criticizing anything, or even creating fake AI content, even if it is for entertainment purpose, it can cause damage. So, need to tackle the issue of social media pollution. That is a term used by the Chief Election Commissioner. They have to find a way around it. But is it possible? Is it really possible to regulate social media? Very, very difficult. Farm workers, drivers to be fastest growing jobs according to the World Economic Forum. Farm workers and drivers. Why? Now, what has generally happened in most of the developed society is people have generally moved from primary sector to the secondary sector to the tertiary sector. Means it has generally left the farming activity what? Empty. Manufacturing and industry is fine. We do have people there, and wherever difficult jobs are involved, today robotics will take over in the future, agreed. But one area where literally you need people even today is driving and farming. And these days, these two are very high paying jobs. Many people don't know about it. In fact, many people today are trying to get into USA, Canada, or even Europe just for what? To become truck drivers. If you're a long distance driver, it is being said that even if you work just 3 or 4 days in a week, 3 or 4 days in a week as a truck driver, if you work, you will end up making either the same or more money than an engineer or a doctor working in USA. I'm not joking here. You will end up making that much money. Why? The system has changed. And again, driving trucks there in USA road and Canadian roads or European roads, let me be very honest here. If you have drove in India, you can drive anywhere. Those vehicles with their power steering, long roads, very clearly given instructions, properly maintained structure, traffic laws, driving there is a dream. The pay is really good. Systems theory again. Punjab to set up Security Operations Center. The Punjab government has decided to establish a Security Operations Center to ensure the protection of critical IT infrastructure, including various applications and state websites. The move is aimed at bolstering the state's cyber security infrastructure by enhancing the defense mechanisms. Decision was taken at a meeting chaired by Aman Arora, Minister of Governance Reforms, on Thursday. He said with the center, which is to be established at the cost of 42 crore, Punjab will become one of the foremost states with high-level cyber security capabilities. Systems theory again, because cyber threat or cyber warfare will be probably the next war, and you need not actually have bombs, etc. Have a nice group of 10 to 12 hackers with you. You can literally destroy any country's economy. Odisha to overall management of multi-purpose shelters after Cyclone Dana exposes deficiencies. The Odisha government has decided to overhaul the management of multi-purpose shelters in the state after they couldn't be put to optimum use during Cyclone Dana in October 2024, owing to issues such as non-functional toilets and lack of power supply. Systems theory again. So the multi-purpose shelters, whatever were made, they found that there are a lot of drawbacks with it. Now they have decided to improve it. Took the feedback, made the change. Booming solar farms in the US put thousands of hungry sheep to work. Now, sheep and solar power, what is the link? You have vast stretches of land. You put solar plants there. Great. But grass will grow. Small shrubs will grow. How do you prevent that? Because when these starts growing, what will happen? They'll start slowly covering these solar power plants, or these panels will get affected because of the height. So you need to stop it from growing. But if you take mechanical extractors and go, you won't be able to clear the gaps between the panels and all. It will only create the larger areas. Smaller areas will still have these grass growing. That is where they came up with this concept called as solar grazing. Simply means put the sheep there. Sheep will go in between these panels also, start munching on the grass. You get your wool, you get your electricity also. Both can coexist together. Getting the point here, people? This is again what? Systems theory. Again, another beautiful example of integration also. Clear? Stung by Pooja Ketkar scam, government amends civil services exam rules. Now, this is one name that I believe probably every student is going to remember at least for the next 10 to 15 years. Considering the fact that the current prelims format is nothing less than, what is it? Like, other than basically asking questions like, will you marry after clearing the service? Will you take dowry? How many children are you planning to have? Except these three, I think literally they have asked every other thing out there. And the reason, again, you cannot blame UPSC here, because one person or individual, not just her, I'm not telling that she's the only one who has managed to make a fool out of the system. There are many. She was the only one who was caught. Unfortunately for her, and unfortunately for many of you, because of the cumbersome process that is involved today in literally filing the application for UPSC exam. I don't think in the history of exams in India, no online application process is this level detailed and stringent as it is in the current format. Online submission documents such as educational, caste and physical disability certificates has been made mandatory for candidates for the preliminary stage of the civil service examination conducted by UPSC. A government notification is sent. Previously, documents were to be uploaded only when a candidate qualified for the main examination. Preliminary level itself, you have to put all the documents. And let me be very clear here. Any of you who are thinking, we can do this, can I do this, can I do that? Let me be clear. You want to become viral, you want to get barred from the exam, do all the jugaad, whatever you are planning to do. Because this year, let me be very clear to you, UPSC will make an example out of all those students who are planning to take UPSC for a ride. And once UPSC cancels your candidature, let me be very clear, even the Supreme Court also will not have any say there. Previously, documents were to be uploaded only when a candidate qualified for the main examination. On Wednesday, the Ministry of Personnel notified the Civil Services examination rules. The ministry said 979 vacancies will be filled by this year's examinations, which is the lowest in the past 3 years. In the Civil Service Exam 2023, around 10.1 lakh candidates applied. However, only 5.9 lakh candidates appeared for the examinations. The changes have been brought as Pooja Ketkar was selected as a probationary IAS officer after she allegedly forged identity papers, misrepresented and falsified facts to obtain extra attempts, and produced a fake persons with benchmark disability certificate to gain reservation in the 2022 exam. Mr. Ketkar could bypass the UPSC's gatekeeping by appearing in the exams 12 times as against the 9 attempts that are allowed. The alleged forgery and crime was revealed last June while she was posted for field training in Pune. Ms. Ketkar was subsequently discharged from service, faces criminal cases and is currently on bail. February 14th, I believe, is the date when her case will be taken up again. Her bail, that interim relief, whatever she has got, it expires on February 14th. But point here is very simple. Name, your caste, especially your caste, your income certificate, your creamy layer, non-creamy layer reservation, your EWS, your benchmark disability. Make it very clear that these certificates, none of them is forged. Again, systems theory. Following this, the Department of Personnel and Training initiated an inquiry against 6 officials, including a probationer, to re-examine their disability parameters. The officials, 5 Indian Administrative Service officers and IRS officer, got into the services by getting reservation benefits under the disability category. The January 22 notification stated that candidates shall be required to apply online and submit the requisite information supporting documents towards various claims such as date of birth, category, SC, ST, OBC, EWS, PWBD, ex-servicemen, educational qualification and service preference, etc., as may be sought by the Commission. It added that failure to provide the required information and documents along with the registration and online application form will entail cancellation of the candidature for the examination. So everything is going to be brought under the radar. Make it very, very clear. The days of jugaad, let me do this, let me do that. Don't even try to risk it. You're messing with UPSC. Please understand that. And a new chairman is at the helm of affairs. The earlier chairman obviously had to resign once the whole episode came out in the media. So the new chairman will ensure that things are in order, or to show that things are in order, will definitely punish few candidates who are acting over smart. Clear, people? Re-centralization. EPFO completes rollout of centralized system for pensioners. The EPFO has completed full-scale implementation of the new centralized pension payment system to provide PF pensions under the Employees Pension Scheme. Pension worth 1,570 crore for December 2024 was disbursed to more than 68 lakh pensioners in 122 pension disbursing regional offices. The pilot of the CPPS was completed in October 2024 in Karnal, Jammu and Kashmir, Srinagar regional offices. Second pilot was taken up in November 2024 in 24 regional offices. It will empower pensioners to access their pension seamlessly from any bank, any branch in the country. It eliminates the need for physical verification visits and simplifies the pension disbursement process. CPPS is a testament to our commitment to modernizing EPFO services and ensuring convenience, transparency, and efficiency for our pensioners. Like I told you, this is where things are moving to. Government here these days is basically concerned with one thing: reducing human interface. That means as long as I don't have to meet a government servant to get my work done or my pension, chances of corruption are also less. When everything is automatic, I have all the documents, I have my Aadhaar, I have my PAN, I have my bank account, which is everything linked to my mobile, it is cross-checked and it is verified, then I should be able to access my pension also easily. Getting the point here? This is exactly what the government is also doing. And EPFO has been maintaining that the CPPS is a paradigm shift from the existing pension disbursement system that is decentralized, with each zonal regional office of the EPFO maintaining separate agreements with only 3 to 4 banks. Earlier, each zone had separate agreement with separate banks. So only with that banks only you were able to what? If you had account in those banks, you can access your pension. No more. Then the whole system has become centralized. As a result of which, with any bank any branch, you can access your pension. Getting the picture here? Now this I have discussed in class. Traditional public administration was all about centralization. Correct? The next phase of governance was decentralization, where you had private players, NGOs, informal organizations, employee groups, all of that. Today with technology, what probably no public administrative thinker also would have thought possible is what? It is actually re-centralization. Because technology has made it possible today to link all the components with a central authority at the top, overviewing and overseeing what is happening. Need not interfere until and unless there is a problem or an issue, but otherwise can monitor everything, can see everything. So technology has encouraged decentralization. The same technology is capable of what today? Bringing re-centralization. One system for the whole country managed. A similar example, if you ask me, this is now centralized system for pensioners. You also have something like CCTNS, crime and criminal tracking network system. That is also a centralized system. One system connecting all the police stations of the country. There are more than 17,000 police stations. You are connecting all of that. Getting the point here? We are actually moving towards that phase of governance today. All right. Where the structure again, it is going to be a triangle with a top authority. But the top authority will only get involved when there is trouble. Otherwise, it will just oversee things. Top authority will literally be able to see what work is happening at the grassroots level also, because everything is online or digitally connected. Clear? Moving on to the next topic, and that is formalism, red tapeism, and judicial delay. UPSC seeks details from two visually impaired candidates who took the exam 15 years ago. Now you can clearly see what is the issue here. Nearly 6 months after the Supreme Court directed the UPSC to consider appointments to 12 visually impaired candidates against the backlog vacancies meant for them under the persons with disabilities quota, the UPSC has now issued a public notice saying that it can no longer find any details of two of these candidates in its records and ask the candidates to get in touch with their details. We always have this faith in UPSC that being a constitutional body, things will be in order. 15 years ago, when we say, now this is from 2025, 15 years ago, when I say we are looking at what? Just 2010. That's it. It's not that old. And it is very interesting to see that the UPSC itself is telling that we don't have the details. Concerned candidates, if you have whatever details or whatever seat you want to claim, you approach us with the details. Bureaucratic delay clearly shows, or bureaucratic inefficiency is not just isolated to executive agencies alone. Constitutional bodies are also not immune from it. The whole Pooja Khetkar episode brought out into the forefront many things. But this here clearly shows that UPSC too needs to undergo a reform process. UPSC needs to have the details of all the candidates, not just the ones where litigation is going on, but even those candidates who have been selected, who have been rejected. What are the reasons? Entire thing should be held under a database. That's something very simple. Getting the point here. But don't worry, the future is already here, which is e-office. It's only a matter of time before e-office gets implemented everywhere. And all the details, as of now, from this current year onwards, Aadhaar linking along with using artificial intelligence to scan through the data of the candidates, all these are put into action. Getting the point here. Taking it further forward, Supreme Court moves benches of Armed Forces Tribunal to address backlog. The Supreme Court on Monday suggested constituting benches of the Armed Forces Tribunal in Jammu and Kashmir and Himachal Pradesh to deal with the growing pendency in defense-related cases from these two areas. At present, AFT Chandigarh was handling the burden of cases from there while setting up circuit benches at Jammu and Kashmir, Shimla and Dharamshala would considerably relieve the backlog. Armed Forces Tribunal. Armed Forces Tribunal simply means a tribunal set up exclusively to look into what? Army matters. Basically, whether any extrajudicial killing has happened, suspension, dismissal, extramarital affair within the armed forces, that is taken over by the Armed Forces Tribunal. But there also, interestingly enough, pendency or backlog is huge. That is why Supreme Court is now considering what? Setting up other benches. Now, judicial delay, we can clearly see, is not just confined to our normal criminal and civil courts. Even the Armed Forces Tribunal is not immune from it. Getting the point here. Denotified tribes' anger growing amid a stagnating scheme classification issues. With the center's seed scheme for denotified tribes only now taking off, caste certificates being denied to them in 29 states, and the IDATE Commission's 2017 report in cold storage, anger among the denotified tribes, semi-nomadic tribes, and nomadic tribes is growing across states such as UP, Haryana, and Gujarat. This anger is now also frustrating members of the Union Government's Development and Welfare Board for DNTs, SNTs, and NTs who are making fresh attempts to push for the implementation of the IDATE panel recommendations, which include a permanent commission, proper classification, and a detailed caste census. Basically, scheme is there. Seed scheme. For whom? The denotified tribes. But it is only coming into action now. So what does it clearly show again? Delay. Systemic delay. Obviously, people will be angered. People will be frustrated. Their anger and their frustration has also affected whom? The officials who are working for it. Getting the point here. So when Mary Parker Follett told conflict in any situation, you have to accept that conflict is given in an organization. What she didn't understand or probably did not fathom was how conflict can spill over. Tribal people are having issue with the government for not giving them the benefits of the scheme at the earliest. But they are taking the frustration out on whom? Government officials. Because of that, government officials are getting frustrated. Getting the point here? Taking it further forward, ahead of budget, CII suggests moves for ease of business. Ahead of the budget, industry body Confederation of Indian Industry suggested a 10-point agenda to drive ease of doing business reforms aimed at reducing compliance burden, simplifying regulatory frameworks, and improving transparency. It has commented that all regulatory approvals, central, state and local levels, must mandatorily be provided only through the national single window system. It has also pitched for expediting the process of dispute resolution by improving the capacity of courts and placing greater reliance on alternate dispute resolution mechanism. Unified framework could be introduced which consolidates all requirements into a single document. It also said that states may be incentivized to develop an online integrated land authority with an objective to streamline land banks. The entire thing, if you see, it is again what? Ease of doing business, you must understand, is directly or rather inversely proportional to bureaucratic delay, which is nothing but red tapeism and formalism. The solution that is being suggested is a national single window, then a single document. A single document that will specifically say what and all clearances are required, what and all documents are needed. Make a single document. Even now we know to start any business, be it in city, be it in villages, it is not at all easy. The reason being what? We don't know the plethora of clearances that we need to take. Delay. States yet to use 70,744 crore funds for welfare of workers. The Union Labour Ministry said in a right to information replied that the welfare boards for building and other construction workers of various states have not yet used the cess of 70,744.16 crore they collected from the employers for the welfare of the workers. Since the implementation of the Building and Other Construction Workers Act in 2005, the boards have collected more than 1 lakh crore as cess from the employers and allocated 67,000 crore with the workers. All right. Now what is happening? Not even though that much of money is there for the welfare of workers, it is remaining underutilized. Why underutilized? Political inaction. Because even if the executive, that is the government employees, if they have to utilize these funds for the welfare, they need what? Orders from the top. If that political order does not come, then the executive cannot do anything. So literally you look at it, states are yet to use 70,744 crore funds for the welfare of workers. Getting the point here. It is one thing to start a scheme. It is another thing, based on that scheme, you're collecting cess. After collecting the cess, you have to utilize it for the purpose what you have collected it for. You cannot use it for any other scheme. You cannot divert these funds for some other scheme. You have to use it here. That's not happening. Clear, people? Checks and balances. NGT issues notice to government over plan to fell 1 lakh trees. The National Green Tribunal has issued notice to the Ministry of Environment, Forests and Climate Change and Singareni Collieries Company Limited over proposed felling of more than 1 lakh number of trees to facilitate an open cast coal mine in Odisha's Angul district. Like I told you, in a metrics organization or be it in under NPS, you are answerable basically to everyone. This is again a classic example of diffraction. Why? You have a specific body, NGT, to look into environmental issues. And they have questioned now, why are you bringing down more than 1 lakh trees for coal mining? Getting the point here. You can even use this as an example where you can cite it as bounded rationality. Why? Because this is clearly a tug of war between sustainability versus development. I have told you earlier also, a current affair can be linked with anything and everything that you want. Getting the point here. They can link it with anything and everything. It is left to you how you are planning to link it. Taking it further forward, PSUs. Kong questions Kerala PSUs investment in private firm. Leader of the opposition in the Kerala Assembly alleged that the investment made by the Kerala Financial Corporation, KFC, in Reliance Commerce Finance Limited, now a liquidated private firm, was illegal and against provisions of the State Finance Corporations Act. So basically the thing is, the investment in a company that was on the verge of liquidation at the time. Reports of a credit rating agency called CARE. That means Kerala Finance Corporation, which is basically a corporation owned by the Kerala government, a state PSU. They have made an investment in a company, a private company. Not a big deal. PSUs can do that. But the problem here is that the timing of the investment was made when that private company was going to get liquidated. That means it was undergoing a loss. So they basically stopped all the operations. They liquidated it completely. That means sold all the assets, stopped all the business activity. At the time of closing, why did you go and invest is the question here. This clearly shows that state PSUs are in dire need of what? Of implementing 3Es. There is nothing efficient or economic or effective about this. This is one more reason why this investment should now happen with what? State PSUs. Why? What is the other reason? If you go back, there is another current affair that we discussed where we told Kerala's fiscal health is very bad. Considering the fact that Kerala is number one in most other parameters, this will not come as a shock to people like me being from Kerala. Why? Investment is very low there. Investment is very low, and the state-owned PSUs and the way by which the salaries and pensions are being paid to the government employees, the burden on the government is pretty huge. Salaries and pension alone comes to a huge amount. On top of it, when state PSUs are making such investments, which are not at all economical, not at all efficient, it is only going to create further trouble for the fiscal health of the state. So whichever state is having A bad fiscal health or poor fiscal discipline, if you literally look at the way they are running things there, you will find a lot of issues. Clear, people? Moving on. Balancing right to protest and right to life. Now, this is a purely judicial article. All right. Pure judiciary article with lot of cases being mentioned. Very, very important. You can expect a question for this year mains, if not in PubAd, at least in GS paper 2. Let us see it. What is the context? The context is obviously that Jagjit Singh Dalewal, who is undergoing a fast now, he has his right to protest. And at the same time, right to life also needs to be protected. Supreme Court is treading a fine line between protecting his freedom of expression and ensuring the state's duty to preserve his life. Judgments from the Supreme Court in the Suo Moto Ramlila Maidan incident case and the High Courts, especially the Madras High Court, recognize hunger strike as a form of protest which has been accepted both historically and legally in our constitutional jurisprudence. So, Ramlila Maidan case as well as Madras High Court basically has accepted that hunger strike is accepted as a form of protest. The Madras High Court had reasoned that the police's power in the face of a protest by hunger strike was confined to imposing reasonable restrictions to ensure the safety and convenience of the people at large without confronting a peaceful protest. The Supreme Court has recognized hunger strike as a form of expressing dissent which draws its source from the Satyagraha of Mahatma Gandhi and has underscored that it cannot be perceived as a threat to public order. Hunger strike in our country is a well-known form of peaceful protest, and it is difficult to connect this with public disorder. You cannot claim that, okay, somebody is doing a hunger strike, this is going to create public disorder. How? If I am doing a hunger strike, I am lying there. I am not blocking the traffic. I am not blocking people's right to move. I am not blocking people's right to go to their office. Nothing. Getting the point here. So, hunger protest or hunger strike cannot be connected with public disorder as observed by the Supreme Court. And the police's job is what? Put reasonable restrictions where to ensure the safety and convenience of the people at large. That's it. To ensure that whatever somebody is protesting there, but people's safety, general public safety and their convenience should not be tampered with. The Apex Court observed in its judgment Mohammed Yusuf Rather versus State of J&K reported in 1979. The court has made it clear that a threat to go on hunger strike or the action itself cannot be termed as unconstitutional or barred under any law. The Punjab government in Mr. Dalewal's case has to navigate with care, as in the words of the Madras High Court in August 2023 judgment in next judicial ruling, very recent, P. Tangam versus the Superintendent of Police, protesting democratically by way of hunger strike without causing any inconvenience to anybody is the right guaranteed by the Constitution of India. That is the beauty here. You're not causing inconvenience to anybody. That means it's a fundamental right guaranteed under the Constitution. Then, Madras High Court noted in 2013 in K. Tyagarajan at Todar Taigu versus the Commissioner of Police that even chief ministers had gone on hunger strike. So, two important High Court rulings, one Supreme Court ruling. Here, the petitioner threatened to go on a fast at the Marina Beach to highlight the cause of the Tamil language, tradition, and culture. The Chennai Police Commissioner had termed it a punishable act. The High Court had differed, saying that police's job was to put sufficient safeguards in place. The police could even obtain an undertaking from the protesters to maintain peace and orderliness but could not interfere or impose themselves on basic rights guaranteed by the Constitution. Preventive steps should be founded on an actual and prominent threat endangering public order and tranquility. The Supreme Court observed in the Ram Leela Maidan case judgment. It cautioned the state to exercise power with great caution and without arbitrariness. So, what is the bottom line here? If somebody is doing hunger strike, the only thing police can go and do there is ensure that there is no disorder. Public life is not tampered with. Only if public disorder is there or public is finding it inconvenient, you can remove them from there. Otherwise, no. Their only job is to ensure that everything is happening in a very convenient fashion for the general public. Clear, people? This is the idea behind this article. 3 important rulings, one from the Supreme Court in the Ram Leela Maidan case, 2 from the Madras High Court, one with regard to P. Tangam case and the other one, Tyagarajan case. Clear? Women-oriented articles. Government launches Panchayat Se Parliament 2.0 for women. Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla will on Monday inaugurate Panchayat Se Parliament 2.0, which seeks to give insight into the constitution and parliamentary procedures to over 500 women representatives from Panchayati Raj institutions from across the country. Organized to commemorate the 150th birth anniversary of the tribal icon Birsa Munda, the program will have workshops and sessions, a guided tour of the new Parliament House, Pradhan Mantri Sangralaya and Rashtrapati Bhavan for the participants, offering them a deeper understanding of India's legislative process and the functioning of democratic institutions. How you can empower the women, how you can change the attitude towards women, all of that. So this is more to encourage a theory-why behavior. Or maturity theory in women, especially coming from rural background. Clear, people? AI generated deepfakes targeting women politicians around the world. An online boom in non-consensual deepfakes is outpacing efforts to regulate the technology globally. With the proliferation of cheap AI tools, while high-profile politicians and celebrities have been victims of deepfake porn, experts say women not in public eye are also vulnerable. Really dangerous, I must say. That is, these days, people in the name of fun, the sort of videos that they are making, there is no, I would say, there is no limit to the level of shamelessness that they are displaying. It all comes from a very perversive mind. And unfortunately, here women are the victims. Now, celebrities, they can always brush it off. They have the system, they have everything under control. That is a reality. Let us be very honest. Saif Ali Khan, as soon as he was attacked, how many days did it take to just capture the guy who was the perpetrator? Why only for that case they brought in the a super cop, etc. Because if you have money or if you have power or if you have both, you will get things done in this country. But what about the women here? The ordinary women. Even before AI became a powerful tool, women have been actually committing suicide over morphed photos and morphed videos. And AI videos these days, it takes, like, you have to view it very carefully before actually getting to know, okay, this is a fake video. Because some telltale signs will be there. At least in the initial days, you will be able to find it out. But going forward, through the naked eye, you won't be able to make out whether it is an original or a fake until and unless you send it to a laboratory. They start decoding it to find out whether it is original or not. Needless to say, this is again an example for systems theory. This is again an example of a dynamic environment where countries today should make proper laws to ensure that this is not seen as some small mistake or mischief, but treat it very seriously. Clear, people? Taking it further forward, independent regulatory commissions try to soon bring in tighter regulations to control spam. So TRI is going to bring what? Digital distributed ledger technology platform. We have already seen this example, I know, but we are just taking it up again. The point here is the digital distributed technology. Why are we bringing it? The reason being that the regulatory agency should up its game now. TRI cannot simply sit as a passive viewer. TRI need to move out from being a simply being a facilitator. Should stop this and start what? Start serving. You have one job to look into the telecom department, and so many prank calls or scam calls or spam calls are coming, which is looting the people of millions. High time some regulation is kept so that this can be monitored. IRDAI caps elders health cover spike. Again, the Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India, IRDAI, directed general and health insurers offering indemnity-based individual health insurance products to senior citizens against raising the premium by more than 10% a year. They basically told that you cannot increase for senior citizens, you cannot increase the premium by more than 10% a year. IRDAI doing its job. Again, if you notice it, both are what? Both are examples of diffracted society. Clear, people? Taking it further forward, NHRC faults Labour Department's probe of Foxconn hiring orders new inquiry. That is the National Human Rights Commission. If you ask me, does it really come under the definition of Independent Regulatory Commission? Not so much, but still, NHRC again looks into human rights issue. And what have they found here? India's powerful human rights watchdog has admonished labor officials for failure to adequately investigate evidence of employment discrimination at Foxconn, which makes Apple iPhones, and told them to re-examine the documents. The National Human Rights Commission in June ordered federal and Tamil Nadu state officials to probe Foxconn's hiring practices after a Reuters investigation found that the manufacturer excluded married women from iPhone assembly jobs at its southern India plant. A newspaper report from Reuters triggered an investigation. NHRC not being happy with the investigation, the details of the report received, what did they do? They asked them to start a new inquiry again. Getting the point here. When agencies do their job properly, automatically things will be in order. Clear? Judiciary. High Court gives 6 weeks for action on Bhopal waste disposal. Now, from here onwards, we are going to see important interventions from judiciary. Some of it are judicial activism. Some borders around judicial activism and judicial overreach or adventurism. Here, if you see, High Court gives 6 weeks for action on Bhopal waste disposal. Government, when it fails to do its job, wherever legislature and executive fails in its job, who will take over? Judiciary will take over. This is one example for that. Ideally, executive is supposed to dump the waste. More than 40 years it has been. Now they are planning to do something. Take all the waste, take it to another area and burn it there. Where people of the new area, they are like mad or what? You dump it here, it is going to affect us. Clear? Karnataka High Court strikes down center's electricity rules. Court says center lacks legislative competence to frame green energy open access rules. They were framed in a bid to reach net zero emission by 2070 as per international climate commitment. In a major setback to the government, the High Court of Karnataka struck down the electricity promoting renewable energy through green energy open access rules 2022, which were framed for promoting generation, purchase, and consumption of green energy, including the energy from waste to energy plants through open access in a bid to reach the goal of net zero emission by 2070 as per international climate commitment. The court basically said center lacked the legislative competence under the Electricity Act 2003 to frame the rules commonly known as the Green Energy Open Access Rules 2022. Power to regulate transmission, determination, and more specifically, all aspects relating to open access is conferred exclusively on the State Electricity Commission under sections 42 and 181 of the Act. It is obvious that all aspects of open access lie within the exclusive domain of the State Commission. Bottom line is what? State electricity comes under State Commission. Center cannot frame rules for that. This is the classic example where judiciary is doing its job, where issue is there between center and state. Judiciary gives clarity. Clear, people? So, in case of conflict, judiciary acts as the mediator. Here again, if you see, you can bring in what? Zone of indifference, zone of acceptance also. It is not within the center, state, center zone of, sorry, it is not within the state zone of indifference or acceptance of with regard to whatever rules were found by the center. State took the matter to the court gave a clarity. So you can link it with what? Zone of indifference or zone of acceptance. Clear, people? High Court directs TDB to augment security measures at Sabarimala. The Kerala High Court has directed the Travancore Devaswam Board to augment security measures at Sabarimala in connection with Magaravilakku and also to put curbs on permitting entry of pilgrims and vehicles to the hill shrine as part of crowd management. Clearly executive's job. Court is interfering. Classic example of what? This is actually judicial adventurism. Because this is state's job, right? Or overreach. Supreme Court issues notice to EC government on poll rule change. The Supreme Court on Wednesday sought responses from the Union government and the Election Commission on a petition filed by Congress leader Jairam Ramesh challenging an amendment made to the conduct of election rules of 1961 that virtually restricts citizens' right to access election-related records. So a change was made to the rules. So the election-related records now henceforth will not be easily accessible. Video footage, camera footage, details, those things will not be easily accessible. Because central government along with EC made that rule change, Supreme Court interfered in it again. Why? To give clarity. So this is again a classic case of what? Judiciary doing its job. Clear? Top court slams delay in appointing information commissioners. The Supreme Court on Tuesday slammed the chronic delay shown by the center and states in appointing information commissioners to decide citizens' right under the RTI Act. A bench headed by Justice Suryakant noted that the Central Information Commission had 8 vacant posts of Information Commissioner, while 23,000 appeals filed by citizens seeking information from various departments have been pending. Central level, 8 information commissioners posts are lying vacant. And what is the pendency of cases there? more than 23,000. Several information commissions in the states have been defunct since 2020, and some have stopped accepting petitions under the Right to Information Act. Mr. Bhushan said repeated prods from the Supreme Court in the 2019 judgment and orders passed in October 23 and November 24 to make timely and transparent appointment of chief information commissioners and information commissioners had hardly made a difference. Clear, people? That means in this department, we can clearly see center and the state both are equally what? Irresponsible. This goes against the principles of governance. This goes against the principles of a healthy democracy. Clear? Because you're trying to kill the whole act by not appointing the information commissioners. Clear, people? Moving on. States have no money to give doles, but not to judges. Supreme Court. So again, one small grammar error is there. That is, states have money to give doles, but not to judges. Supreme Court. States have enough money to give freebies to people who do not work, but they claim financial constraints when it comes to paying salary and pension to judges of the district judiciary, the Supreme Court said on Tuesday. Now, it's an indirect criticism on freebies. Now, this is the idea here. That is, when it comes to freebies, for the temporary satisfaction of winning an election, economic principles are allowed to be, go into the drain. Whereas, what is really required, that is being sacrificed. A bench of Justices B.R. Gawai and Augustine George Massey made the oral observation after Attorney General R. Venkatramani submitted that the government has to consider financial constraints when deciding the pay and retirement benefits of judicial officers. Come elections, you declare Ladli Behna and other new schemes where you pay fixed amounts. In Delhi, we have announcements saying they'll pay 2,500 if they come to power, the bench remarked, indirectly criticizing the freebie, not directly. Now, here also you can see Supreme Court is also basically talking about their salary, their pension. Getting the picture here. So, how does it stand? The idea here is, so because of the freebies, how it constrains the government. And freebie culture also, if you see, it is a decision based on what? Bounded rationality again. That is one way of linking it. The other way is what? The vote maximizing tendency of the politicians will lead to schemes such as these. Working for their own self-interest. Next, High Court says commenting on woman's body is sexual harassment. The Kerala High Court has held that comments by a man on a woman's body constitute a sexually colored remark and that amount to an offense of sexual harassment. Justice A. Badruddin made the observation recently while dismissing a petition by a former employee of the Kerala State Electricity Board in Aluva seeking to quash a case registered against him on the complaint of a woman employee. She had alleged that he had been sexually harassing her since 2013 and had used vulgar language against her in 2013 and sent objectionable messages and voice calls. The court observed that the prosecution had specifically made out a prima facie case to attract the offences alleged against him. Now, where do we put this? It is again now judiciary is giving clarity to the law, right? Getting the point here. And we need to get into the root of the issue. We need to take a completely rational decision here. And the rational decision in this particular case, what is the best way to do it? Punish the wrongdoers here. Making comments on a woman's body, if at all it is made, get into the root of the problem, give, ensure that the person will face what? Dire consequences. Getting the picture here. It's not an incremental approach that we need here. Instead, what we need here is what? Severe punishment. Incremental approach or just letting it go using the technicalities of the law will not at all suffice here. Get into the root of the problem, take the completely rational decision, which is what? Ensure that the person gets punished as per the provisions of the law. Clear, people? Union government yet to wake up from its slumber on Dam Safety Act, says Supreme Court. Top court was hearing plea seeking lowering of the permissible water level at Mullaperiyar Dam. It says center has not fully implemented the 2021 law to prevent disasters related to dams. Court issues notice to center and posts it for January 2022. I've always kept on telling you, whenever legislature or the executive fails in doing its job, Supreme Court will interfere or the judiciary will interfere. There is no doubt about it. Or in other words, when an incremental approach is being used, when an incremental approach is being used by the government or legislature because they don't want to solve the problem once and for all, fearing political backlash or fearing losing votes, who steps in? Government, thus judiciary, to put an end to the problem once and for all. Getting the point here? Taking it further forward. Supreme Court says courts should not recall orders without hearing all parties or giving reasons. Retracting orders without a hearing could undermine public trust in the judicial system. Courts recalling their orders without first hearing parties involved or giving reasons for the retraction will dent the public's faith in judicial institutions. What is this? This is basically bringing in internal reform, changes, constantly improving, taking feedback from the environment. So, judiciary is obviously in a position for what? Implementing systems theory, taking feedback from the environment and improving its running. First, list the case and hear the parties on the question of recall. You just cannot recall your orders without hearing the parties, and you must provide reasons for deciding to go back on an order. Mr. Said complained that the Madras High Court had allowed his petition to quash a money laundering case against him on August 21, 2024. However, his petition was listed again for rehearing on August 23, 2024. Though the order was pronounced on August 21, the matter gets listed on August 23. This cannot be countenanced at all. Today, you simply allow a petition without hearing and no reasons are recorded. The next day, the matter is fixed for rehearing. Justice Oka reacted. The retired police chief had approached the High Court to quash the enforcement case information report accusing him of money laundering in connection with plot allotments. He argued that the charges under PMLA cannot stand on their own when the charge sheet for predicate offences has already been quashed by the High Court in 2019. When there is a lack of clarity or poor coordination within the judiciary and the concerned investigative departments under the state or the central government, then automatically what happens? Citizens will suffer. Trust in the judiciary also will suffer. So here we are basically talking about what? Again, this is another example of poor integration between judiciary, center, state, departments or agencies, where ultimately citizens will suffer. Clear? Ball in government's court on SC/ST creamy layer, says top court. The ball was in the, 1 minute. The ball was in the courts of the legislature and the government to take a call on whether the creamy layer of scheduled caste and scheduled tribes, beneficiaries of reservation, in education and public service must be excluded from quota benefits. Very tricky point. Economically, we can see this is the best decision to take. Rationally, to take a decision would be what? Bring in the same creamy layer criteria into SC/ST, because it is a public secret today that people who are getting benefit out of SC/ST, they are not actually economically backward. The ones who are really economically backward, they are not getting the benefit either, because either they are not aware of it or they lack access to the resources necessary. So the creamy layer, should it be brought or not? It's a very sensitive topic. Again, it can affect the outcomes of an election. So court basically told that now it is left to the government to decide whether they want to include that criteria or not. Now, when you look at it from a constitutional perspective, when it comes to economically weaker section, benchmark is there, 8 lakhs. When it comes to creamy layer of OBC, again the benchmark is 8 lakhs. How can you just treat SC/ST as a separate class? Getting the point here. Another thing, now when we make a rule holistically, just like 8 lakhs, etc., can we make it for SC/ST also? Because socially, the historical injustice that they had to suffer through is not the same for economically weaker section or even for that matter for OBC. They had to undergo a lot of harassment in the past. Some of them are even unfortunately continuing to be harassed even today. So in such a scenario, where do we draw the line? Do we make a law common to all, or do we keep the principles of equity in perspective? This is the question. It's a very tricky and a dicey issue. It can affect the outcomes of an election. So basically, governments are also doing basically what, like they are literally waiting it out. They are literally saying what can be done, get a ground report and all that. We are given our view that taking into consideration the past 75 years, such persons who have already availed benefits and are in a position to compete with others should be excluded from reservation. But it is a call to be taken by the executive and the legislature. The court was hearing a writ petition filed by Santosh Malviya seeking a direction to the state's departments and PSUs. Immediate cessation of reservation benefits being extended to the creamy layer within the SC and ST. So the states have the power to make sub-classifications within the scheduled castes. Who was part of the 7-judge constitution bench in a separate opinion had called for the need to evolve a unique set of criteria to exclude the creamy layer among SCs and STs from reservation benefits. This was said very early in August 1, 2024. State must evolve a policy for identifying the creamy layer even from SC and STs so as to exclude them from the benefit of affirmative action. The criteria for exclusion of the creamy layer from SC or ST for the purpose of affirmative action could be different from the criteria as applicable to the OBCs. Justice Gawai's opinion had formed the basis for a push within a majority on the Constitution bench to introduce the creamy layer principle for SC/ST categories. So some differences you can keep, but then try to bring a creamy layer category into this, especially for those people who already got the benefit and they are well off right now. They have passed out from nice colleges, they are all into nice government jobs, means basically put an end to the SC/ST reservation, at least for those category of people, so that the lesser fortunate ones can now avail the benefit. Clear? Unauthorized procurement, supply of railway e-tickets, a social crime, says top court. The Supreme Court on Thursday held that unauthorized businesses of procuring and supplying railway e-tickets is a social crime which must be stopped in its tracks, and criminal action should be prompt as the national economy is affected. The Indian Railways is a keystone of our country's infrastructure. It carries around 673 passengers and it has a tremendous impact on the economy of this country. Any effort to disrupt the integrity and stability of the ticketing system has to be stopped on its tracks. This case revolved around the provision of Section 143 of the Railway Act 1989, which restricts entities which are not under the disciplinary control of or are not authorized by the railways to conduct the business of procurement and supply of tickets. What is the bottom line here? Unauthorized procurement supply of railway e-tickets is a social crime. Say stop quote. Once again, as now we are moving into more and more digital governance, the problem is the errors or the problems associated with digital governance is that people are misusing it. In this present case also with e-tickets, what has happened is one of the men, Matthew Cherian, was accused of creating hundreds of fake user IDs to sell tickets without any authorization from the railways. So how people misuse digital governance, that is the point here. And therefore, we need to put in more efforts for what? More efforts for actually strengthening digital governance. Plea in Supreme Court seeks recall of Tamil Nadu governor over walkout from assembly. A writ petition has been filed in the Supreme Court seeking the recall of Tamil Nadu Governor R.N. Ravi following his walkout on January 6 this year over singing Tamil Thai Vazhuthu instead of the national anthem ahead of his customary address to the assembly. The petition filed by Supreme Court advocate and petitioner in person C.R. Jayasukin called the governor's conduct shameful as Tamitai Vazhuthu invocation to Mother Tamil was being sung at the beginning of functions since 1967. See, this is where we say that governor is trying to indulge in a sort of I wouldn't call it propaganda, but rather some sort of like misusing the post. Now, this is a legislative assembly convention in the state of Tamil Nadu, where since 1967, before the customary address of the governor, this particular song called Tamil Thai Vazhuthu means praise to the Mother Tamil. We are praising Mother Tamil. That is the language Tamil basically. Now, he found it offensive and he staged a walkout. He is telling that, see, they are not playing the national anthem. This is what they are doing in the state. When a person in a constitutional post does that, the impact that it can happen to the unity and integrity of India. Because again, many people don't know. Many people, when they hear it for the first time, they will feel, oh my God, see, in Tamil Nadu, they are not playing the national anthem anymore. That is how unfortunately, even some medias were reporting it without thinking that since 1967, this has been a convention. So what is the big deal? Getting the point here. So proper structure needs to be brought with regard to the do's and don'ts of the post of governor. In 1991, the state government introduced a rule that Tamil Thai Vazhuthu would be sung at the beginning of functions and the national anthem at the end. This has not been a point of confrontation for 10 governors since 1991. It pointed out that Tamil Thai Vazhuthu was the state's anthem. State anthems are sung as per tradition in states including Maharashtra and Odisha. A statement issued by the governor's office had said that the speaker and the chief minister had refused to listen to a request by the governor to play the national anthem. Again, the point here is what you're trying to create some sort of sensationalism, unwarranted and unbecoming of the office of the governor. Getting the point here. So this is again under the long list of governor, state legislative assembly or government tussle. This also just gets added up and it is never going to end at any time soon until and unless a proper structure is brought with regard to the functioning of the governor, the do's and don'ts, a proper bill is passed. This will keep going. Because in spite of various judicial verdicts, there has been no stop to it. There has been no end to it. Clear, people? Moving on. Delhi High Court pulls up AAP government for delaying tabling of CAG reports. Report should have been promptly forwarded to Speaker for a discussion in the Assembly. The Delhi High Court on Monday questioned the Aam Aadmi Party government for dragging its feet dragging its feet on the tabling of the reports of the Comptroller and Auditor General over the city administration before the assembly, saying it raises doubts about your bona fides. As we can clearly see, once again, another state government or another government basically, this time of a union territory, not placing the CAG reports on the table of the assembly where it can be discussed and debated, especially with regard to the civic administration that has happened. So this clearly shows what? Clearly shows they have something to hide. If everything is crystal clear, then what is the necessity to actually not table it? Getting the point here. No, now this is where we need to understand when such minute things. CAG report, once it is presented, it has to be tabled in the legislative assembly or in the parliament by default. There cannot be two ways about it. So again, we can see that this is again a classic case of what? Misuse of rules. Again and again, such matters ends up with what? Burdening the judiciary. So even if you have a structure, even if it is constitutionally written down, does not guarantee that people will actually implement it. You created a structure, you have placed the laws, but it all comes down to how people will take the policy forward. It comes down to the nature of the people that there are in the institutions. Institution itself is not the issue. Issue is the type of people that. So let us go through it once. Justice Sachin Datta, who were hearing a petition by the opposition MLAs over the delaying table of the CAG report, said, the way you dragged your feet raises questions of your bona fides. You should have promptly forwarded the reports to the speaker for having a discussion on the floor of the assembly. You have dragged your feet to avoid having a discussion. See the number of dates you held on to the report and the time taken to send them to the LG and then forwarding it to the speaker. The timeline is stark. Earlier, the Secretariat had told the court that no useful purpose would be served by tabling the CAG reports before the Assembly as its tenure was ending in February. It said no judicial order could be passed to the Speaker in matters of internal functioning of the Assembly. However, counsel for the BJP leaders during the Monday hearing submitted that the court was empowered to direct the Speaker to call a sitting of the Assembly for tabling the reports. Now, this is the interesting thing here. That is, there is a provision in the Constitution what basically tells that the courts cannot interfere into any matters that concerns the Legislative Assembly. Similarly, Legislative Assembly also cannot discuss any particular judicial ruling inside the Assembly. Matters of the conduct of the court basically. There is that understanding. Now, you created it why? So that the judiciary functions smoothly without political interference. Judiciary also should not interfere with the matters of the legislature. That is the idea behind it. But that particular provision of the law is what the AAP government has used to hide behind the responsibility of not tabling the CAG report on time. The Delhi government's counsel raised an objection over the political nature of the petition and alleged that the LG's office made the reports public and shared it with newspapers. All right, so that is the idea. Again, the issue is again another example of what? Another example of LG and government. Clear? High Court orders police cover for Taurus whistleblower. The Bombay High Court on Wednesday came down heavily on Mumbai police over the slow-paced investigation into the Taurus investment scam and ordered immediate interim police protection for a chartered accountant who claims to be the whistleblower in the case. The Taurus jewelry brand, run by Platinum Home Private Limited, is accused of floating multiple schemes offering up to 500% annual returns and eventually defaulting on payout. The FIR registered on January 6 stated that over 1.25 lakh people had invested their money and the fraud amount could go up to rupees 1000 crore. Another example of again, when the agencies are not performing their job properly, judiciary will intervene. Clear? Easy access to clean toilets, essential for human dignity. The Supreme Court on Wednesday declared that easy access to clean public toilets for all, including men, women, persons with disabilities, and transgender people, is not just a matter of convenience but a basic right and an essential part of human dignity. Though public toilets are built near every toll plaza and the national highways across the country, we seldom find them to be maintained and accessible. All right. Again, Supreme Court intervening. Again, that should be done by the states and the union territories, but then Supreme Court intervening and telling them what their job is supposed to be and what they are supposed to do. Clear, people? Again, another example. I'm just highlighting these many examples for the only reason that you are able to remember at least a few and you will be able to write them in your exam. Understand? Because these things are pretty easy to remember. All right. Misleading ad, Supreme Court warned states, union territories against laxity. The Supreme Court on Wednesday warned states and union territories of contempt action for hesitating to initiate proceedings against offending individuals and companies which give misleading medical advertisements. The court's threat of contempt action came after amicus curiae senior advocate Shadan Farasat submitted a status report on the implementation of statutes against misleading advertisements, including the Drugs and Magic Remedies Act, Drugs and Cosmetics Act, and the Consumer Protection Act. Again, states or union territories not taking action against erring individuals, Supreme Court intervening. Supreme Court stays High Court order asking Delhi government to sign health scheme MOU with Center. Again, this is another example where Supreme Court is giving clarity. Let us see. The Supreme Court on Friday stated Delhi High Court order to the Aam Aadmi Party government in the capital to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the Center for implementation of the PM Ayushman Bharat Health Infrastructure Mission scheme. A bench headed by Justice B.R. Gavai issued a notice to the Center on the Delhi government plea against the High Court's direction December last year to sign the MOU by January 5. Appearing before the apex court for the Delhi government, senior advocate A.M. Singhvi asked how the High Court could compel his client to sign the MOU given that it is a policy matter. What is it in a nutshell? Now, Ayushman Bharat scheme, we must understand, first of all, health is one such subject where state also has powers. So, the Delhi High Court basically directed the AAP government to tell what? Basically that, yes, now you should also sign an MOU with the center and start implementing PM Ayushman Bharat scheme in your union territory. First question is, can the Delhi High Court do that? Can the Delhi High Court actually ask a state or a union territory with an elected government to literally do something or not do something when it comes to policy? Can the judiciary's structure do that? Absolutely not. Judiciary cannot directly ask the state government to do something, that is, take up this policy, that policy, why don't you take up? They cannot do that. That is how the structural model of judiciary and the government has been set up in our constitution. So obviously, because the Delhi AAP government did not find it at all nice, what did they do? They took it to the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court, they got a favorable verdict where they basically said that they did not sign it. Clear? That is why Supreme Court has stayed it. Courts must not use abetment of suicide charge mechanically. The Supreme Court on Friday held that the police must not deploy the criminal provision of abetment of suicide casually or to assuage the immediate feelings of the distraught family members of the deceased. Clear? A word uttered in a fit of anger and emotion without intending the consequences to actually follow cannot be said to be instigation. Investigative agencies were sensitized to the law laid down by the Supreme Court under Section 306 so that persons were not subjected to the abuse of process on an untenable prosecution. Now, the point here is that there are many people who are a little too sensitive. So, sometimes what happens is one gesture or somebody rejected, immediately the person writes that person's name on a letter and then goes and commits suicide. So, that is why the court even cautioned what? Don't immediately put the abetment of suicide charge and start the whole process mechanically. Go into each aspect and then take a call. This is the idea behind That is the bureaucratic rationality. You have to put to use here. Cops also should use that. They should respect the values of the deceased as well as that of the accused. Plea in Supreme Court calls for creation of a dedicated ministry for senior citizens, yet another vulnerable class. The Supreme Court of India on Friday allowed a petitioner seeking the creation of a dedicated ministry for senior citizens in the country to make a representation before the government. Supreme Court accepted the petition. Now again, if you ask me, this is again not the job of the Supreme Court to accept such petition itself. Why? Because it's a policy matter. It is ultimately left to the discretion of the government whether they want a new ministry or not. It is up to them to decide. It is not for the Supreme Court's job to even entertain such a plea. This is a clear case of judiciary encroaching into the domain of the executive. Number one, judiciary going beyond or judiciary interfering in policy matters. Judiciary forgetting the very fact that where does its power start? The structure. It is forgetting about its own structure and what type of policy interference can it do. It can question the government with regard to what is the situation of the elderly people, what are you doing. It can question the policies, but not literally direct the government and tell that, okay, you frame a new ministry, you don't frame that ministry. Because today if they are telling, okay, you can frame a ministry, tomorrow somebody files a petition telling that shut down a ministry, even there also Supreme Court can entertain it. Getting the point here. So these things from the side of the Supreme Court actually will affect the smooth functioning of a democracy. Number one, it will only increase the burden of the judiciary when more such type of petitions are being entertained. CBIC has to reassess baggage rules gold limits. Delhi High Court. The Delhi High Court has said that the value of gold permissible under the baggage rules for travelers coming from abroad to India will have to be relooked by the CBIC, saying it appears to be completely not in tune with the current market value of gold, which is very, very true. So a few grams of gold, if you're bringing it in your bag today, these days, it can end up in serious fine as well as jail time. Now, whatever it is, ultimately, the point is you cannot put a value to it. Why? Price of gold is increasing by day. So some other criteria, or like how court has said, update the rules. So again, according to the change in environment, when you don't do it, obviously Supreme Court will interfere. The rule, wait a minute, let us see. Consider the market rate of gold at present, where 40 gram of gold would be costing much more than the value cap of 1 lakh prescribed under Rule 5 of baggage rules. The court was dealing with a petition filed by Kamar Jahan, who was returning from Dubai to India last year when the customs department confiscated 2 gold kadas and 1 gold chain. Ms. Jahan was directed to pay a redemption fine of 75,000 and a personal penalty of 1,10,000 in terms of the Customs Act. After her appeal against the order was dismissed by the Commissioner of Customs, she moved the High Court. The customs official said, as per the baggage rules 2016, the term personal effects would not include jewelry. The rule also says any jewelry of 20 grams with a value cap of 50,000 for a man and 40 grams with a value cap of 1 lakh for a woman only can be cleared free of duty on return to India, subject to the condition the passenger is residing abroad for more than 1 year. Gold and gold jewelry are treated as prohibited articles, but they are beyond the prescribed limits under Rule 5. If any jeweler is coming from abroad carrying jewelry which is more than the values prescribed, the same would have to be declared by the said traveler. So again, lot of confusions, lot of clarity issues are there. So whenever there is a lack of clarity from the side of the rules, judiciary will interfere again. So judiciary can be the integrating body here. This clearly shows why we cannot have a one best method. We need to keep the rules updated according to the changing times and circumstances. So that is the point here. Clear? Taking it further forward, baggage rules are required to be relooked by the CBIC, and a policy decision ought to be taken by the Government of India on both fronts to ensure there is no harassment of genuine travelers, whether Indian or foreigners, into India. Illegal smuggling of gold is properly curbed. Supreme Court lambasts Assam government over detention centers, summons Chief Secretary. Calling it a defective affidavit, the Supreme Court on Wednesday slammed the Assam government for not giving in its reply reasons for detaining 270 foreigners at the Matia transit camp. They directed the Assam Chief Secretary to remain present through video conferencing on the next date of hearing. The top court said it granted 6 weeks' time to the state government on December 9 to file the affidavit and expected it to give reasons for detaining 270 foreign nationals in the transit camp, besides details of the steps taken for their deportation. The affidavit does not give any justification for detaining. Steps taken to be deport are not set out. This is gross violation of orders of this court. We direct the Chief Secretary to remain present through video conferencing and explain the non-compliance. So, idea again. Now, the point here is foreign nationals have been deported, have been detained in detention centers and they will be deported. Court asked for the details. Government did not comply. Chief Secretary right now is in the dock. Getting the picture, people? So, once again, wherever injustice is there, Supreme Court will interfere. Wherever lack of transparency is there, Supreme Court will interfere. So, judicial activism is more of has more to do with the lack of clarity or the lack of professionalism being exhibited from the side of the legislature or the government. Clear? Use of loudspeakers not crucial for any religion, says Bombay High Court. Direct law enforcement agencies to take prompt action against violation of noise pollution norms, asks state government to direct religious institutions to adopt mechanisms for controlling noise levels. Very, very true. Bringing in absolute clarity with regard to what can be tolerated as part of freedom to religion, what can and what cannot. All right. Supreme Court relaxes condition for appointment of ad hoc judges to high courts. A special bench of the Supreme Court headed by Chief Justice of India, Sanjeev Khanna, on Thursday relaxed a condition that ad hoc judges can be appointed to state high courts only if their judicial vacancies cross 20% of the sanction strength. The condition was imposed 4 years ago by the Supreme Court in an April 2021 judgment in the Lok Prahari case versus Union of India. The special bench, also comprising Justices B.R. Gavai and Surya Kant, two of the senior-most puissant judges of the top court, passed the order keeping in mind the urgent need to curb the growing case pendency. The high courts have over 60 lakh cases pending, of which nearly 20 lakh are criminal appeals. Changing times, extraordinary circumstances, extraordinary changes. So, Supreme Court in its earlier ruling has basically told only when the vacancies are cross 20% of the sanction strength, then only you can use ad hoc judges. And for that, they had prescribed conditions also. Now they have decided to relax it. There is only one reason. More than 60 lakh cases are pending in the high courts, of which more than 20 lakh are just criminal case appeals. So, put in more judges, get the work done. Clear, people? High Court notice to Rajasthan government over petitions challenging classification of trans people as OBCs. The Rajasthan High Court has issued notice to the state on a petition filed by a trans woman challenging the state government's classification of transgender people as other backward classes for reservation in public education and employment. Placing trans people in the category of OBCs was not only unconstitutional but also counterproductive. She explained that this could lead to their exclusion from both OBC related and transgender related benefits. So she basically has argued for giving trans people a unique status in government reservation. Now, this is going to be pretty interesting considering the fact that, for example, in USA right now, what they have done is that is Trump has basically said that there are only two genders, man, woman. So when most of the world today are moving, we don't know now how it will be moving in. Whereas in Europe, you can still see the whole woke culture is still there. That is LGBTQIA plus. Lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersexual, asexual, plus, whatever other sexes that you claim yourself to be. All that. So there was this culture at one point of time. Now it is slowly, voices against it is increasing. But in India right now, what we are going to see is, again, here the situation is slightly different because transgenders, as part of our culture also, we have a history with them culturally. So in that sense of the word, we cannot do a watertight shut case how it is happening in USA or how it is happening in the Europe. We cannot allow them to do whatever they want. That also we cannot do. We cannot again allow them to cut it down completely like how USA did. So we will have to take a very fine stance here. So just because it is in gender is only man and woman in USA, or there is complete freedom in basically deciding what your sex should be, or sexual orientation should be in Europe, we cannot have both of it. We need to take in our own culture here. We need to look into other precedents of law here, and accordingly only we can implement it. So this is again a good example for what? Comparative public administration. Clear? Moving on. Supreme Court orders complete stop to practice of manual scavenging in 6 metros. Court directs state officials in Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, Kolkata, Bengaluru and Hyderabad to file affidavits by February 13th on when and how manual scavenging and sewer cleaning ceased in their cities. Again, classic example of what? Judiciary literally asking them, when are you going to put an end to this? Again, judicial activism, no doubt about it. But unlike the earlier cases where I gave you that judicial is interfering in policy, you have to see this from a more of a humanitarian ground. You have to see this from the social evil of casteism that still exists in this country and how it is slowly getting fed through practices as inhumane as manual scavenging. So that is why court is asking it. Getting the point here. Moving on. PG medical courses cannot have quota based on residence. The Supreme Court on Wednesday held that residence-based reservation for admission to postgraduate medical courses within the state quota ran counter to the very idea of one citizenship for all and the right to equality under the Constitution. That means, see, basically, Supreme Court says seats are to be filled strictly on the basis of merit in the All India examination. That is, the Tamil Nadu government basically has basically challenged it, telling that they want to give residence-based reservation. That is, people who are from that particular state, say from the state of Tamil Nadu, they should get reservation in the medical colleges in the state of Tamil Nadu. Clearly violation of Constitution, right? Clear violation, because it goes against with the whole idea of mixing of culture. So everything should be based on what? Your rank. Based on that, which college you're getting, be it in whichever part of India, you go there, you serve there, you come back. Got the idea here? So that is the point. Again, Supreme Court coming tough on the government, again, because whatever they have asked cannot be entertained. Clear? Giving clarity here. Act against negligent officials, Supreme Court tells railways. The Supreme Court directed the Railway Ministry on Wednesday to act against negligent railway officials in the case of extensive irregularities in the management of catering stalls in its Mumbai division. Corrective measures must be taken on the Central Vigilance Commission report within 3 months, and a report is to be sent to the Supreme Court registry. Take action within 3 months, and the report also should be sent to the Supreme Court registry. Clear examples again, legislature and executive, where they fail in getting the job done, Supreme Court will step in. Judicial activism will continue in our country, no matter what. Moving on, lack of a protective law exposes domestic workers to abuse, says Supreme Court. Anguished by the years of abuse, an impoverished tribal woman from Chhattisgarh suffered as a domestic worker in the national capital and neighboring cities. The Supreme Court on Wednesday directed the union government to work on bringing a law to protect this burgeoning but unorganized workforce from exploitation. The simple reason for this harassment and rampant abuse, which seems to be prevalent throughout the country, is the legal vacuum which exists vis-a-vis the rights and protection of domestic workers. As a result, they frequently endure low wages, unsafe environments, and extended hours without effective recourse. Again, another example of states not passing the right laws, as a result of which there is a lot of confusion with regarding to this. So Supreme Court again stepping in and directing the center to frame the laws. The court drew attention to states such as Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, and Kerala, which had not waited for a central law but took the initiative to enact their laws to safeguard domestic workers. These three states had constituted specialized bodies under their respective laws to administer various social security benefits, maternity and child care, education, assistance, and medical expense reimbursement. The court noted that multiple attempts were made in the past to bring a central law to protect domestic workers, from the Domestic Workers Bill of 1959 to the Domestic Workers Bill of 2017. None of these proposed laws were enacted. Now, this is a classic example of what? This is a classic example of, yes, definitely judicial activism, but it also means what? It also means comparative public administration. Clear, people? Moving on. The next topic that we'll be seeing is 3E, economy, efficiency, and effectiveness related news articles. Research and development has no relevance if it does not meet timelines. IAF chief. Very, very true, right? Considering the fact that a light combat aircraft, Tejas, took more than 3 decades just to get completed. Not a joke, people. I'm pretty much sure some of our audience will be younger than that particular timeline. So whatever R&D you do, if you're not maintaining a timeline, that means you're not efficient, you're not economic, you're not at all being effective, because a technology, if it is released, you start a research today for a particular technology and you're releasing it some 30 years down the line, it will definitely become obsolete. Getting the point here? So that is the main highlight of this article. Research and development loses relevance if it does not meet timelines. Indian Air Force Chief, Air Chief Marshal AP Singh said on Tuesday, pointing out that the indigenous light combat aircraft was conceived in 1984, but today in 2025, the first 40 aircraft was still not available. Getting the point here? Moving on. Investment proposals trifurcated in Rajasthan after dissolution of 9 districts. Amid indications that the dissolution of 9 newly created districts could deter potential investors, the BJP government in Rajasthan has decided to trifurcate the Memorandum of Understanding signed during the recent Rising Rajasthan Global Investment Summit 2024. Prime Minister Narendra Modi had inaugurated the 3-day summit on December 9. Means what? 9 districts were created. The 9 newly created districts, now that is being basically what? Dissolved. So there is a fear now because of this act. Now, why was it done? Because party changed. New government has come in. As soon as this has happened, obviously now how it is going to affect the investment is the question now. So such things when you do, there is a lack of clarity. And this lack of clarity, or rather this tit for tat approach being followed by the political parties in the country, is another major reason why India's ease of doing business ranking still suffers. Getting the point, people? Moving on. Integration or coordination. Bharat poll to aid in nabbing fugitive criminals wherever they hide, Home Minister. Union Home Minister Amit Shah on Tuesday inaugurated the Bharat poll portal, which aims to provide police and security agencies in India with a seamless connect to Interpol, the International Police Organization. Best example of integration and coordination between national and international agencies. Interministerial committee is needed to strengthen AI governance, India AI mission. In a recognition that artificial intelligence has impact on a wide range of fields, a union government panel mandated to develop AI guidelines has recommended that an interministerial committee be set up to enforce AI rules and ensure effective governance of the country's emerging AI ecosystem. So, for the entire AI ecosystem, what is the best thing to do? Interministerial committee, that is integration and coordination. Himachal CM points out troubling trend of synthetic drugs. Himachal Pradesh Chief Minister Sukhwinder Singh Sukhu on Saturday underscored a troubling trend towards synthetic drugs, even as his Punjab counterpart Bhagwat Mann sought the union government's intervention to provide financial assistance to Punjab for setting up special narcotic drugs and psychotropic substances courts to check the drug menace, pointing to the problem impacting the socio-economic balance in Punjab. Asking for funds from the center to set up special courts exclusively for drugs and psychotropic substances to try those cases, and literally try to stop the whole thing. Classic example of what? Coordination and integration between center and state. BSF BGB officials hold border coordination meet to strengthen ties. Again, high-level interaction highlights unwavering commitment of both forces towards ensuring the sanctity of the international border amid disagreements over construction of border fences. DG-level talks are being conducted between BSF and BGB to ensure that there are no skirmishes or there are no untoward incidents that is happening along the India-Bangladesh border, as India right now is busy fencing the border region. Clear? Singapore to help India's semiconductor industry. Singapore is exploring new initiatives such as manufacturing of semiconductors and building a semiconductor ecosystem in India and participating in the creation of a new generation of technological solutions. Again, coordination and collaboration with international agencies, because we need these semiconductors for what reason? Because we are moving into, or we have already entered into the AI era. And if you want to have control over AI, or you want to have control over Internet of Things, machine learning, deep learning, for all this you need what? You need chips, semiconductor chips. Getting the point here. So India is trying to enter into coordination and collaboration. Third party should broker Manipur peace police recruits. Should broker Manipur peace police recruits. At the first ever integration training, organized by the Assam Rifles for the Manipur police last month, recruits from all three communities, Meitei, Kuki, Zo and Naga, concurred that peace in the ethnic violence affected states should be brokered by a neutral third party. Most recruits were disillusioned with the inability of their leaders to find a solution to the issue and stressed on a larger role by the central government to tackle the crisis. So they were all tired with their respective leaders and they want the center to take a larger role, and preferably they need a third party, somebody who is completely neutral, away from the domestic politics, to take charge of it and broker peace between the communities in the violence torn region. Clear? Again, all these are examples of what? Integration. Here also, center can take over the role of an integrator or a facilitator or a coordinator to bring in lasting peace. 3 interstate committees to draft social security plan for workers. The two-day Chintan Shivir of the Labour Ministries and Secretaries, which concluded on Thursday, has decided to form 3 panels comprising 5 states each to develop a sustainable model for comprehensive social security coverage for workers. The committees will submit their reports in March. The meeting also elaborately discussed the implementation of various clauses under the new 4 labor codes. The proposed shift from labor inspector to labor inspector cum facilitator model was one of the major labor reforms discussed at the meeting. The overall objective of this reform is to reduce the compliance burden and promote ease of doing business, along with ensuring decent working conditions, equal opportunities at work, and improved employee-employer relationship. All of that. This is a classic example of what? Once, obviously, ease of doing business, definitely integration, definitely efficiency, economy, effectiveness, definitely smoothing out bureaucratic hurdles, reducing red tapeism, formalism, all of that you can quote over here. Clear, people? Moving on. High level meet discusses labor code rules, issues of gig workers. Setting the stage for the possible implementation of the 4 labor codes from April 1, a meeting of officials and ministries of the union and state labor ministries reviewed the progress in drafting of rules under the codes by the states. The meeting noted that over 18 states and union territories have implemented a majority of the reforms, and more than 32 of them have pre-published the draft rules. The remaining have made satisfactory progress, and all 36 are expected to complete pre-publication of harmonized draft rules in line with the labor codes by March 31st. Discussed labor reforms and issues of gig and platform workers. The minister also launched the state and union territory microsites under the eShram initiative and the occupational shortage index during the meeting. The OSI will match labor market demand and supply, enhancing employment outcomes across the country. So that is the point here. Again, coordination and cooperation between the union and the states, especially with regard to implementation of the 4 labor codes. Technology related. ID tokenization will help minors pass age test under new data rules. The child verification system proposed in the draft digital personal data protection rules to ensure that the child verification system proposed in the draft digital personal data protection rules to ensure that minors do not use social media platforms or age restricted online services without parental consent has been formulated in coordination with the tech industry. Draft rules require platforms to verify the age of applicants for age restricted services. No universal solution exists for child verification. That is the reality, especially when it comes to adult content or very violent content. Again, we know that these days children are getting easy access to it. So there is no easy way. These are some proposed laws. Again, feedback from the system, the perils of technology, all that you can use it over here. Drone survey of land in over 3 lakh villages completed. The union government has completed a survey of 67,000 kilometer of rural land worth rupees 132 lakh crore, the Panchayati Raj department said on Friday. The Panchayati Raj department started the survey using drones, which have an accuracy up to 5 centimeters as part of its Swamitwa program. So far, 92% of the drone mapping has been completed, covering around 3.17 lakh villages. The target to cover more than 3.44 lakh villages is likely to be achieved by 2026. So far, 31 states and union territories have onboarded. This is again to get a complete clarity. What is the village resource available with us? Using drone technology, you're going to map the entire country. Clear? Center, state, or union territory conflict. That is the next thing that we are going to see, which is a repeated topic that keeps coming in. All right, people. So, let us look into this center state issues now. Center's decision to abolish post of advisor to Chandigarh Union Territory sparks a row. Political controversy erupted in Punjab after the union government issued a notification abolishing the post of the advisor to the Union Territory Chandigarh administrator. According to a Gazette notification issued on January 3rd by the Union Ministry of Personal Public Grievances and Pension, the post of advisor to the Union Territory Administrator has been abolished and replaced with the post of Chief Secretary in Chandigarh. Now, all the political parties have criticized the centre, demanding the immediate rollback of the decision, terming the move an assault on Punjab's rightful claim over Chandigarh. Many people have basically said that whatever, there are problems with it, etc. So basically, many people have said that it is an attempt to weaken Punjab's claim over Chandigarh. The appointment of a chief secretary is meant for a state. Chandigarh is not a state, nor does it have a chief minister. Then why was there a need for the appointment of a chief secretary? So this is the point here. Chandigarh is a union territory, common to both Punjab and Haryana. And now the post of advisor has been replaced with that of the chief secretary. So that is the reason why so many people are having issues with it. So earlier it was somebody who was independent. Now when you put a chief secretary there, chief secretary in Chandigarh, automatically what happens? Control over that particular region with regard from a particular state will increase. And this decision has been taken by the center, rather very unilaterally, without having proper discussion with the concerned parties or stakeholders before actually implementing it. One thing we must understand is, wherever poor coordination or integration is there, poor integration between differentiated bodies, automatically what are you expecting there? Poor integration between differentiated bodies. Definitely there will be a lot of conflict. So you can link this, bring MP Foley here, you can bring comparative public administration here, you can bring FW rigs here. Clear? Moving on, TN House adopts resolution against draft UGC rules. The Tamil Nadu Assembly on Thursday unanimously adopted a resolution moved by Chief Minister M.K. Stalin, urging the union government to immediately withdraw the draft Universally Grants Commission minimum qualification for appointment and promotion of teachers and academic staff in universities and colleges, Regulations 2025. That the clause pertaining to the process of selection and appointment of VC in the draft UGC regulations must be withdrawn. The regulations propose to give the governor or chancellor the power to constitute a 3-member search cum selection committee for the appointment of vice chancellors. What is the idea here? The idea is simple. Now you must understand here, this is something which earlier even the Sarkaria Commission has also recommended. That is, it is better to keep the governor out of those duties which are not constitutionally mandated, because it will invite a lot of criticism. It will unnecessarily put the office in the bad light. This was the Sarkaria Commission's observation. And in many states, what they had done is, that is, be it West Bengal, be it Tamil Nadu, be it Kerala, they were already in the process of replacing the governor from the post of chancellor. They were doing it. But now what has happened is, center's draft UGC rules basically puts the power back into the hands of the governor, where governor or chancellor the power will be given to constitute a 3-member committee to actually appoint the Vice Chancellor. The search committee shall comprise a nominee, each of the Chancellor, UGC chairman, and the apex body of the respective universities, such as syndicate. This is the next thing. So basically, states' power over universities will be watered down. That is the reason why now states are having a problem with the UGC draft rules. We need not worry about the UGC draft rules as such because it is still in the drafting stage. Let it come completely out. Then we will think about it. But let us understand the controversy surrounding it. The controversy is just that states will have very less power when it comes to the appointment of VC. Getting the point here. Now, this is the main issue here. All right, people. Now, taking the discussion further forward. Oh, and once again, what is this again? The same thing. Poor integration between differentiated bodies. And it is important that such resolutions, etc., are passed also. Why? Because only then differences of opinion will come into light, and only then we can ensure cooperative federalism. Getting the point here. Cooperative federalism, again, from the perspective of paper 2. Paper 1, again, poor integration between differentiated bodies, comparative public administration, FW rigs, all that you can bring it over here. Clear? Relevance of Woodrow Wilson. Sub-inspector recruitment and exam won't be cancelled in haste. Rajasthan government tells High Court. The sub-inspector recruitment exam of 2021, mired in the allegations of paper leak and irregularities, will not be cancelled in haste. The BJP government stated in the Rajasthan High Court here on Thursday. The investigation to the alleged paper leak is in progress, Additional Advocate General Vigyan Shah said. It's a very sad news. That is what I would say. Because considering the fact that we have so much of youth in this country who have pinned their hopes on a government exam and a government job, the fact that such news keeps popping up every now and then at state level. It has happened earlier in the state of Karnataka. Now we can see it happening even in the state of Rajasthan. The thing is that it's been like how many years now? In 1887, Woodrow Wilson gave his essay where he talked about merit-based selection. But even after more than 100 years after his essay, something as basic as merit-based selection is still left wanting in Indian administration. To conduct an exam in its complete objective neutrality is still a difficult task, or rather an impossible task in our country. Getting the point here. Taking it further forward. Competitive federalism. Haryana ready to implement 3 new criminal laws by February 28, says DGP. Haryana is likely to become the first among states and the second after the Union Territory of Chandigarh to implement the 3 new criminal laws in entirety by February 28, according to DGP. He said, once 5G technology was all pervasive, it would be a force multiplier as the new laws mandated digital evidence through compulsory videography of a crime scene and recovery procedure. The Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, Bharatiya Sakshya Sanhita, and the Bharatiya Nagarik Suraksha Sanhita which replaced the Indian Penal Code 1860, the Indian Evidence Act 1872, and the Code of Criminal Procedure 1898, respectively, came into effect on July 1, 2024. After the laws were passed by the Parliament in 2023, the laws require upgrading infrastructure and forensic capabilities. And states have been given 5 years to implement all the verticals. The 3 laws, 1 minute. Just that the article is a little big. The three laws overhaul. The three laws overhaul all the pillars of the criminal justice system. Police, medical forensics, and judiciary. That the new laws define timeline for courts to dispose of trial proceedings, and it might be challenging as the courts would have to deal with existing cases registered under the old laws and the fresh cases in a time-bound manner. He said the courts did not have the option to not accept charge sheets electronically. People who are not convinced will also have no option but to work for the success of the laws. No logistical issues are there. Mindset is half the problem. Once people are convinced and work in one direction, success will be achieved. It may take 2-4 years. Once the inertia is broken, the success rate will be exponential. The Union Ministry of Home Affairs has set a timeline of March 31st for Haryana, but we expect to implement the laws by February 28. Certain amendments need to be made to the police rules applicable in the state for the implementation of the laws. Existing police rules have been framed as per the earlier laws. For example, the summons can be delivered electronically now. Earlier, there was no rule prescribed for electronic summons. Systems theory, cooperative federalism, competitive federalism. Haryana becomes the first state in the country to implement the 3 criminal laws by February 28. It is the second when it comes to union territory. First was Chandigarh. The requirement of it. Now, this is again a classical thing about differentiation is there. Differentiation, integration. For that complete integration to happen, what is the most essential component here? The most essential component obviously is 5G connectivity. Because forensic evidence, summons, everything is going to be what? Electronic. Charge sheet, everything is going to be electronic. Courts are also bound by it in a time-bound manner. And it literally overhauls the existing police, medical, forensic, and judicial system. Needless to say, judiciary is going to be overburdened because they will have to definitely look into the old cases registered under the old criminal laws, the new cases registered under the new criminal laws. Clear? That is the idea. Importance of private players. Companies look to localize data shortage, telecom tech. Moving away from China, firms are pushing for producing networking equipment in India. Data storage within the country is slowly picking up pace as local servers and data centers come up. From data centers to telecom equipments, Indian firms are capitalizing on key policy developments to indigenize the Indian tech stack from both hardware and software point of view. That means private companies are now literally investing back in India when it comes to data storage. Plus, telecom technical equipments, whatever is required, hardware, etc. Let us develop it within the country itself. Getting the point here. So, what is the ultimate thing? When you encourage private players, what happens is private players always tries to look for what? Private players generally don't prefer incrementalism. Rather, they prefer for what? They actually prefer getting into the root. Root of the problem, find what it is, get it rectified. So when they found out that, okay, it is possible to have data centers here, it is possible to have technology developed here, they are immediately moving into it because that will save them a lot of cost. Getting the point, people? Moving on. Amazon to invest rupees 60,000 crore in data centers in Telangana. Wipro to expand its IT campus in Hyderabad. Tech behemoth, the Amazon Web Services, agreed to invest 60,000 crore in data centers in Telangana. With this, AWS region in Hyderabad will play an increasingly important role in supporting AWS's growth of cloud services in India, including AI in future. It agreed to the investment during a meeting between senior executives from Amazon Web Services, represented by Vice President and Chief Minister A. Revnath Reddy and IT and Industries Minister D. Sridhar Babu at the World Economic Forum and Annual Conference 2025 in Davos, Switzerland. Hailing the major investment decision, Mr. Reddy said, "We are delighted with the growth of confidence of global businesses like Amazon to make huge investments as never before in our state now. The efforts of the last 1 year have truly borne fruit." Government being a facilitator for private investment. Getting the point here. That means basically the tenets of NPM. Clear, people? Moving on. Existence, basic needs, and growth needs. Kerala youth loses life on Russia-Ukraine war front. Binil Babu and his relative Jane Kurian were reportedly enlisted forcibly by the Russian army for the war. Kurian has been injured in shelling. Their families have been trying to bring them back. Why is it that Kerala youth are increasingly falling for this trap? Now, let me tell you, the state of Kerala has an interesting scenario. That is definitely, yes, the state is known for its high literacy rate. They are also one of the most skilled workforce in the country. Highly educated. But what is the problem is the state, when it comes to job opportunities, be it the state or the country, does not have enough of what? Employment opportunities. So what will this highly skilled youth do? Everybody are, most of them are trying to go abroad, study, etc. They are even ready to go abroad to work. So some of them actually were duped by many recruitment agencies based out of Russia who told them that they'll get nice remuneration, etc. And they end up taking it up. Because the salary offered here is anywhere between rupees 1 to 1.5 lakh. Very, very lucrative. But after joining, some of them know it before, some of them know it after, that they have been recruited by private mercenary companies. That is, mercenary companies simply means they are just private soldiers. They won't get any benefit from the government and all. And where are they taken up after they join? They are straight away taken to the war front. Where it is nothing like what you think about a war. Now, many people thinking that it is like a game of PUBG and all will go and join there. I'm telling you, I'm not telling you very honestly. But 1 week into the war front, it will literally separate the boys from the men. That time they understand it is not PUBG. Real world warfare is not PUBG. What else to do? Why are they going for it? Largely for this money, etc. Basic needs. Like I told you, basic needs, survival needs, existence needs, hygiene needs, these are still unfortunately the dream of many people in our country. The existence, the survival, the hygiene, the growth needs, the basic needs, these are all their dream. To have a decent job, have a regular income, have food on the plate, a roof over the head. When the basic needs itself are a dream, people will go to any extent to accomplish it, unfortunately. Getting the point here? Moving on. 6-year-old query from Supreme Court on rat hole mines remain unanswered. An oral question from the Supreme Court to the Union government remains unanswered even as rescue workers recovered bodies of 4 workers from a flooded rat hole coal mine in Dima Hasao district of Assam. On January 11, 2019, nearly 6 years ago, the top court asked whether rat hole mines could possibly operate in the Northeast Hills without the connivance of officials. The bench was at the time examining the rescue of 15 miners trapped in such a mine deep inside the East Gentia Hills on December 13, 2018. Lives are lost due to illegal mining. What about the officials who allowed this to happen? It could not have been done without the connivance of the officials. The incident at East Jaintia Hills occurred 4 years after the National Green Tribunal in April 2014 banned rat hole mining and illegal transport of coal forthwith in Meghalaya. The ban, seconded by the Supreme Court, was triggered by the trapping of 30 coal laborers inside a rat hole mine at Nongal Bibra in the South Garo Hill district of Meghalaya in July 2012. 15 of them died in the mine. The top court had at the time said it would look into the aspect of how rat hole mining continued to survive such a comprehensive ban. A report submitted by a monitoring committee set up by the NGT under the chairmanship of a former Guwahati High Court Judge, Justice B.P. Katake, had said that despite the ban, the demand for a huge quantity of illegally mined coal from cement manufacturing and thermal power plants in the northeast had sustained and supported rat hole coal mining. Again, ban is there, agreed. Who and all have banned it? Supreme Court has banned it. NGT has banned it first. Supreme Court has banned it next. So, you have NGT, you have the Supreme Court imposing the ban. On rat hole mining. Then how is it that a few officials are able to still entertain this? That is, they are colluding. Demand is there, that is okay. Demand is from cement manufacturers, demand is there from thermal power plants, that is fine. Bottom idea is, why is it that people are ready to risk their life and get into these rat holes? That means small holes, go down, collect this coal from there. Why are they ready to go through narrow tunnels and go dig the coal from there, sometimes using their bare hands? Why are they ready for it? Is there an alternate source of employment? When there is no alternate source of employment, you can blame the officials if you want, or you can blame the cement companies or power plants if you want. All that you can blame. But the real reason for it is what? The real reason is, as long as you don't have an alternate source, people will be ready to get into such mines again and again. Supreme Court can ban it, NGT can ban it, whatever it is, because like I told you, when existence needs, basic needs, hygiene needs, people are struggling to meet it, they will take up any job out there. They have to risk their life at the Russian-Ukraine border, or if they have to risk their life within the borders of their own country, they will do it. Clear? Center announces constitution of 8th Pay Commission. Again, what is the idea here? Again, it is a matter of what? Survival. Because pay revision has to be made according to current prices. Very, very essential. Clear? Moving on. Fostering theory, why behavior. Lawyers' bodies move court for due credit to colleagues. Two Supreme Court Advocates Associations have jointly filed a petition in the top court urging it to record in judicial orders the names of advocates, mostly young legal professionals starting out in their careers, who have quietly worded on cases away from public glare. That is, the idea is, now generally in most cases, who will do the wording? Finally, who will be framing everything? Senior lawyer will come and say, yes, we won the case, this, that, etc. Brief the media. Understand, no senior lawyer, until and unless it's a very, very sensational case, will actually sit down with the real case, with framing it and all. Framing, drafting work and all, it is actually given to the juniors. So they are basically, two lawyers association have said that whoever are the juniors who drafted it, their name should come there. That way what happens? They feel encouraged. They feel encouraged to do a better work. That means you are encouraging the theory-wise behavior in them. They'll be ready to seek responsibility, ready to seek more work, look for more innovation, more creativity. Getting the point here. Moving on. Contracts. Defense Ministry signs 2,960 crore contract with BDL. The Union Defense Ministry on Thursday inked a 2 times 60 crore contract with Bharat Dynamics Limited for medium-range surface-to-air missile for the Indian Navy. Now you must understand here, Bharat Dynamics Limited is again a Government of India enterprise. This is a classic example of contractorianism, or again you can say, this is again another example of what? Management by objective. What is the objective here? Definitely to deliver MR SAM missiles. All right. Taking it further forward, incrementalism. NBM 2.0 aims to expand fiber to 2.7 lakh villages by 2030. The Department of Telecommunication on Friday launched the vision document for the National Broadband Mission 2.0, a follow-up to the previous NBM released in December 2019. The growth of broadband subscription serves as the fulcrum, the foundation and the basis for the launch of NBM 2.0. The goals of the new NBM include improved fiberization in rural areas, faster fixed internet speeds, and improving right-of-way for telecom infrastructure. Existing scheme, you're making it better. You're improving it. You're not actually doing too much of changes there. You're just adding up to it. Clear example of incrementalism. Basically, branch type administration. Correct. Moving on. New public service related news articles. Modi distributes 65 lakh property cards across 12 states, union territories. Swamitwa scheme will unlock economic activities worth over rupees 100 lakh crore. Worst sufferers of property issues with Dalits, backward classes, tribals. That is the thing. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Saturday distributed more than 65 lakh property cards to rural families in more than 50,000 villages across 12 states and union territories under the center's Swamitwa survey of villages and mapping with improvised technology in village areas scheme. He said rural digitization was now furthering rural empowerment by leveraging the power of technology and good governance. So earlier we have seen a news article about using drones to survey the villages. Purpose is to know the exact extension of land available and thereby ensure that land is made available to the downtrodden, the disadvantaged sections of the society. Classic example of NPS. Classic example of good governance. Clear. E-governance. EPFO to let employee correct personal details using Aadhaar number. In a significant reform that would ease the burden on the subscribers, the Employees Provident Fund Organization has simplified the process of joint declaration on the EPFO portal by allowing employees to self-correct errors in their personal details. These include name, date of birth, gender, nationality, parents' name, marital status, spouse name, date of joining, and date of leaving. Like I've been telling you, the whole idea of this particular government, ever since they formed the government from 2014, the idea has been to minimize the interface. Interface means what? The contact between government official and a normal citizen, that has to be minimized. Because the more you minimize it, lesser chances of corruption. So this is again a part of digital governance or e-governance. Why? Why it is e-governance? Simple thing. Now, whatever changes I want to make in my EPFO profile, I can do it using my Aadhaar. I need not go to any EPO office, submit an application, put the original proof of documents, then put an attached copy, submit it, write a letter. None of that is required. Getting the point here? And this is the future again, people. The future is going to be just that. Everything will be 99% digital. And with that itself, what will happen is the corruption part, the whole attitude of the bureaucrats that, we are somebody great, all that will tone down. Clear? CAG. CAG report highlights serious staff shortage in Kerala hospitals. The Comptroller and Auditor General of India's performance audit on the Kerala's health sector from 2016 to 2022 has observed a serious shortage of staff. Doctors, nurses, pharmacists, and lab technicians in all levels of hospitals under the modern system of medicine. The deficiency of manpower not just reflects the accessibility of public to quality healthcare, but also exerts pressure on the available resources. Family health centers were not providing services as intended under the Ardhram mission due to lack of infrastructure, required manpower, etc. And thus the aim to provide augmented patient care services at reasonable cost, time, and optimum levels had not been met. Issues of shortage of drugs and lack of equipment in the hospitals and squarely placed the blame for it on the Kerala Medical Services Corporation. 260 healthcare institutions revealed that many essential drugs were out of stock on various dates in these hospitals. Importance of accountability, importance of having a body like CAG. Now, the point here, interesting scenario is, if this is the state of the hospitals in Kerala, which actually takes pride in one of the best health services in the country, what will be the situation in other places? Getting the point here. Multiple reasons are there involved here. First of all, when you talk about the doctors, the nurses, pharmacists, and lab technicians, especially from the nurses onwards, most of the nurses, if you talk with them, they don't want to be in the state of Kerala because they are so underpaid. They prefer to go outside the state of Kerala, or even better, go outside the country. Getting the point here. CAG report on PPE kit deal will not have bearing in Lokayukta case. Though the Comptroller and Auditor General report that the Kerala government paid an exorbitant price for the purchase of personal protection equipment during the pandemic has created a political stir in the state, it is unlikely to leave any legal bearing on the case pending before the Lokayukta. Why the scope is very less is the report has to be considered by the public considered by the Public Accounts Committee of the State Assembly. That means a CAG report has come with regard to the purchase of PPE kits by the Kerala government during the pandemic. It is being said that those PPE kits were actually purchased at an astronomical cost, where it is believed some amount of corruption has happened. But that report will have very low bearing, legal bearing. Why? See, this is where structure becomes important. Now, when CAG actually makes a report, it is important that this report be tabled where either in the parliament or in the state legislative assembly. Only after the report is placed, and then the next step, Public Accounts Committee takes up that report, they do a research on it, and then they will give their findings. Only then it becomes what? You can take it up legally. You can take it up based on the findings here. These things are there. There is an allegation of corruption, etc. You can take it up. Here, that process has not been followed. The due process has not been followed here. Obviously, what happens? It has very limited applicability then. That means judiciary or nobody can interfere basically. Constitutional body has submitted a report. That's it. Clear. So this clearly shows how CAG also can be made an ineffective body. CAG can do their job, which is what, okay, we have completed our report and our findings. This is our finding. If it is not tabled in the parliament or if it is not tabled in the legislative assembly, CAG also ends up being a scarecrow. That's it. No particular powers, nothing. So whatever structure you have, if it is not being adhered to, there is no point of even having it. Clear? Parliament-related news articles. MPs concerned over arbitrary user development fee charged by airports. Slamming the arbitrary user development fee charged by several airport operators across the country, Parliament's Public Accounts Committee on Wednesday directed the Airport Economic Regulatory Authority to give a detailed reply in writing. Airport Economic Regulatory Authority to give a detailed reply in writing within 15 days on the criteria used to calculate it, the total revenue earned and the corresponding amenities and infrastructure made for the passengers using this revenue. That is the point here. How Parliament can literally ensure accountability. So it's a Public Accounts Committee that has asked basically. Now again, it will be interesting to know that we would have probably not heard of this authority also. Airport Economic Regulatory Authority. So Public Accounts Committee has asked AERA to file a report within 15 days to show whatever money you have collected from the public, what amenities are you providing, especially with the user development fee. Getting the point here. So this is how Parliament also can ensure what, whether the executive or the interested departments or agencies are doing their job or not. You are ensuring accountability here. You are ensuring whether checks and balances are happening. So the point here is structure you can create however you want. Efficiency of the structure will highly depend upon the type of people who are there. Clear? Moving on. Local bodies. 100 Odisha villages to get funds for forest protection. As many as the 100 villages located in the forested regions of Odisha set to receive funds directly in their own bank accounts to carry out forest protection, management and convergence works in respective community land. The Project Appraisal Committee of Union Ministry of Tribal Affairs has approved community forest resource plans for 100 villages in phase 1 under Forest Rights Act, while the Odisha government has proposed to implement it in 400 villages. That is the point here. Involving local bodies, that is villages basically, to ensure that forest is being protected. So union government plans to implement this in 100. Odisha state government plans to implement the same thing in 400. The state has sought funds of 64 crore for 400 CFR plans. It was advised by the PSC that CFR plans for 100 villages may be taken in phase 1. Depending on the learnings from these, the CFR projects for other 300 villages may be placed in subsequent years. The PAC approved an amount of 16 crore for development and execution of CFR management plans of 100 villages. Best example for coordination between center, state, local bodies. Integration. Correct? Again, you can even highlight it as NPS also. This is again another example of governance. All right. Diffracted administrative system. Meta secures NCLAT relief from CCI's WhatsApp diktat. An Indian tribunal temporarily suspended a 5-year data sharing ban between WhatsApp and owner Meta platforms, a major relief for the US giant which had warned its advertising business will be affected. Meta had challenged the Competition Commission of India's directive issued in November that imposed a ban on data sharing between WhatsApp and other Meta entities for advertising purposes, warning it may have to roll back some features. Meta also criticized the CCA for not having the technical expertise to understand the ramifications of its order. On Thursday, India's National Company Law Appellate Tribunal ordered a suspension of the data sharing ban while it continues to hear Meta's challenge to the antitrust ruling. Means what? So basically, Meta wanted to share data with WhatsApp to help support their revenue business. Competition Commission of India did not entertain it. They put a ban to it. Meta took the case to NCLAT. NCLAT ruled in their favor, suspended the Competition Commission of India's sentence. Interestingly, why I am giving you it as a diffracted model? Because Competition Commission of India, basically to put a check on anti-competitive practices in the country. Then you have National Company Law Appellate Tribunal. Another body exclusively to look into the technicalities of competitions as well as company rules, etc. in the country. Two totally different bodies. Appellate Tribunal it is. Two totally different bodies with individual purposes, each one of them doing their job at best. So, perfect example of diffraction. We have a separate body for each. Very perfect example of why we need such bodies in a market dominated era for purpose of clarity. Clear, people? With that, we come to an end of our newspaper discussion for the month of January. I hope you find this useful. I hope that this was also good enough for you to revise things quickly. I understand the judiciary part was pretty much big, but can't help it because these things you need to know. Judiciary related questions, not just in paper 2 of PABAD, but you can also expect it where in your GS paper 2. Clear? So just go through it, at least the important ones, please go through it. And those examples, you can keep using it anywhere and everywhere. All right. So with that, let's wind our discussion. All right. Any further suggestions or solutions, please put it up in the comment section or in my Telegram channel. Take care.